Hi, and welcome to the Graveyardmedia podcast, episode 21 for the week of December 11th, 2017. I'm your host, Saine Grey, and with me are Dalsson
Hello, it's me.
and Thel.
I need to drink out of the skull so that I can be awake.
Okay, off to a great start. So, we're going to start off with games and movies we've checked out this week, then head into some game and movie news, and then finish off by telling you where you can find us, things we're doing, and all that fun stuff. So, who wants to start this week? How are we doing?
Fuck me.
What are we doing?
I do. I actually do want to start this week. I don't usually start, but
Actually, we made you start a few times in a row now. But
I don't think we have. I think that usually somebody else starts and it's Thel.
okay,
So he should start.
okay.
like you say that every time.
I saw a movie this week. I saw two of them. I saw two kind of big movies this week, so I kind of got a lot to talk about. The first one I'm going to talk about is Dunkirk, the new Christopher Nolan movie. Now, going into this movie, I had already heard a few things about it. One, probably most impressively, was that it was Christopher Nolan's most quiet movie. It was a movie where Christopher Nolan doesn't explain things for 2 hours the entire time, which is I've always felt like was my biggest problem with Christopher Nolan. He's very, 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 very dialogue dependent. And this is absolutely true, you know. The very first scene of the movie is sort of very telling of this. It starts out very quiet. There are like 4 or 5 soldiers walking around in the streets, just looking for water, looking for anything. It's just these 5 people walking around. And then the flyers just sort of fall down like snow. They take them, they look at them. It explains that they're being completely surrounded by the Germans. These are flyers from the Germans telling them to just surrender and it's easier than dying. They stand there, they walk there, they take drinks from little hoses that are laying on the ground, these little rubber hoses, and then everything goes fucking insane. There are people goddamn shooting at them everywhere. All of them start dying. One is able to get over a fence, run out to a different alleyway. Then he's shot by his own men. He has to tell these men, flag them down, explain to him that he is English and he is not trying to get shot. These Frenchmen allow him through the blockade, which then gets fucking shot at again. He runs to the beach. On the beach, he is immediately assaulted by everyone, telling them he is in the wrong line if he wants to get the fuck out of here. He is not the right
I don't think you need to assault our ears for this.
I absolutely do,
here.
and let me explain why. Because this is the entire fucking movie. That's it. I mean, all 140 minutes of this is this tense, fucking incredible, like horror show. It's great. Christopher Nolan has always been really good at doing these big action movies, and what I'd heard about this, was this quiet sort of gave me the wrong mindset to be in this movie, because he wasn't here to make a movie that was really, really thoughtful and really, really quiet. No. He wanted you to fucking feel panic every goddamn single second you were watching this movie, and he succeeded. Like, there are like quiet moments in this movie, but there are never any moments that aren't tense.
Also,
right?
You adjusted your microphone down and then are cutting off most of your face. Or you adjusted it up and then now you're like more than half of your face is off camera.
Okay, noted.
Yeah.
There we go. I took off the antlers because it was bugging my ears.
It's incredibly tense. It does have quiet moments, but it's never not tense. The lowest it goes is that points in like a spy movie where everyone's all set up in different positions and you hear over the radio, "Okay, guys, we're all ready. We're gonna breach in 3, 2, 1." That's as low as it goes. it always feels like there is constantly something about to happen in 3 goddamn seconds. Part of this is due to the score. Hans Zimmer, whenever he's working with anyone else, I don't like him. When he's working with Christopher Nolan, he always does good shit.
I don't know. Hans Zimmer is pretty consistently good, no matter what he does.
I mean, I feel like I more hate Hans Zimmer for reasons I'll get into, because that's basically how I'm going to segue this.
Well, he did the score for Skyrim, right?
Did he? I don't think so.
I believe he did.
Really? Huh.
Which is why everybody knows that song.
One of the... Oh, where was I? When I first noticed Hans Zimmer's work in Christopher Nolan's movies being a lot more noticeable in these movies and different
Hans
than what
Zimmer
he
did
usually
not write
does. Yeah, I didn't
Skyrim,
think so.
but everybody says his music sounds like Elder Scrolls music.
Yeah.
Oh,
because
it's Jeremy Soule, right?
Yeah. The reason for this is Christopher Nolan definitely has a vision and like a thing that he wants his movies to sound like, and Hans Zimmer sort of works with him rather than they hire Hans Zimmer, make this sound like the music that you write. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Interstellar had a very sort of kicked back sound from Hans Zimmer's usual super bombastic, almost kind of muddled work. The soundtrack for this movie, it sounded like a horror movie soundtrack. You had sirens in the background that were put on so much reverb that they could have been mistaken for screams. You had, what was really impressive was this constant ticking sound. Throughout the whole damn movie, it would tick slowly, then start ticking faster and faster and faster, and you would always notice it, but it would never get in the way. And it only stopped when one of there's like 3 people that you follow, when one of those people just finally falls asleep because of the absolute fucking mania that this man just went through. When at the end, he finally feels like he's at least a little bit safe. And so does the audience. Because that's the thing. There's a lot of movies, most movies I'd say, set out to do multiple things. They want you to fall in love with the hero. They want you to believe the love story with the hero and the romance character. They want you to hate the villain. They want you to believe in the world that they're creating. Believe the character's motivation. This movie set out to do one thing. To induce a fight-or-flight response with the audience at all times. To make you look like every character that you are currently looking at is about to die. 3 seconds from now, these guys are going to get bombed, and they're all going to die. And the movie succeeds in that. So good job, Nolan. This is your best movie. You fucking did it.
I skipped Dunkirk because I'm not really super interested in war movies.
So I take it you didn't like it then, Thel.
Oh, Dunkirk was wonderful. I feel, of
Hated
course,
it. Awful.
This isn't the best war movie ever made. This ain't. I don't think anything's ever gonna get past Apocalypse Now, just because of the fact that Apocalypse Now was such a mess to make, and that really showed in the movie. Like the pain that they went through making that movie shined in the movie, and I don't know if people don't want to go through that shit, so they probably won't. So it's gonna be tough to beat Apocalypse Now, but on one side of the spectrum of war movies, you got the thin red line, which is, this is the worst part, the calm before the battle. And on the entire opposite, you have Dunkirk, which is, what about the battle? Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about the battle.
That is the worst part.
So yeah, the next thing that I'm going, the way that I'm going to segue this is because I did talk about Hans Zimmer, and that's a good intro to the segue. Hans Zimmer has created this sort of generation of guys who write music for movies through his, I think, very literal teaching. I think he might be the guy who gets most of the people who work on like movie scores nowadays jobs. And this has led to a bit of a problem. a lot of the stuff isn't really super recognizable or super Ooh, a lot of things. There's a lot of and this can also be attributed to a lot of people attribute it to using like music during production that isn't like the music that they're going for, like isn't the score, and so they hire someone to write music just like it sounded like in production, but that they won't get copyrighted for. This has led to a bunch of stuff like the fact that you got all of these superheroes, right? All these superhero movies. And like there is one superhero that has a distinct theme. The Avengers have a distinct theme, and the only reason I can remember that theme is because it plays at the beginning of every Marvel movie, and I've seen them all. But aside from that, all of the Marvel heroes don't sort of have like a sound that you hear, and you know that they're showing
disagree. Like,
really,
Captain America has a pretty unique theme. Wonder Woman has had a pretty unique theme.
No, okay. Wonder Woman is the one that I was talking about. Wonder Woman does have a unique theme. Also, there was another unique theme
Superman, Batman,
Spider-Man. No. I mean with the most recent movies.
No, I'm talking about the most recent movies.
Okay.
Like all of those have had
the theme?
The thing is, I would recognize Superman's theme, but I wouldn't be able to hum it.
I would be able to recognize.
Batman, is the theme that like starts for the animated series, which I could hum it, but I'm not going to.
Oh yeah. Like the but again, that's what I'm talking about is this new wave of movies. Like I didn't even.
No, it was in Justice League. Batman's theme was in Justice League.
Oh yeah. I actually remember that.
There's actually talk about it at the time.
Yeah.
Spider-Man has had a pretty
but again, like what I'm talking about are these modern score writers that came in through Hans Zimmer's work. And because of Hans Zimmer's work. And the reason that Wonder Woman actually has a really interesting theme is because they're like two people that have done really good themes. The first one is Ramin Djawadi. This man had a great theme for Iron Man back in Iron Man 1, and he left or they dropped him, and he hasn't worked with anyone but HBO since. I don't know why. Except for Guillermo del Toro. He did work with him, never mind. And the second one, the reason that Wonder Woman has a really, really distinct and noticeable theme is because, and Dalson's going to be happy to hear about this guy, Junkie XL was the one who did the theme. The man who not only wrote the sound, but played the best character in Mad Max Fury Road. This guy... What?
Who did he play?
The guy with the guitar.
Oh god, yes!
Yeah. These two people have definitely distinguished themselves. Ramin Djawadi did the basically Ramin Djawadi has a bunch of stuff that's so noticeable that we use it as a joke. Like if ever something we see like a robot running around trying to punch stuff, we go da 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 da. Yeah, exactly. The Pacific Rim theme is very noticeable. He did all the music for Game of Thrones, which of course yeah, exactly. And most recently Westworld, which is a joke that I've been making constantly. Like if there's like a robot. Well, yeah. Well, okay, you're basically. But yeah, Ramin Djawadi is great. Junkie XL is great. So yeah, the other movie that I saw was Justice League. And
you actually saw Justice League?
Yeah, I actually saw Justice League. And usually, like a lot of times when people are talking about movies, right? A lot of times people put up these things, right? They put up these videos about like from the movie, a little bit of clip to show people what they're doing. I'm just gonna mime something out for you. Don't you people know the truth? You have already lost. I'm a big fan of truth. I'm also a big fan of justice. Oh, it was so noticeable.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Removed face.
Oh.
I don't think so. I think it's different if you're going into it looking for it, but I didn't notice it when I went in.
What was really
I don't know.
What was really one of the like most noticeable parts of it were specifically a lot of people talk about like the face and the upper lip and the chin and stuff. That wasn't what got me. What got me were the teeth. especially because a lot of times they were like close-ups to Henry Cavill and then close-ups to a different character. Specifically, the one that I'm
Wouldn't the
thinking
teeth
of
not
is
be affected since that's not where the beard is?
um, you would think so, but what they had to do is they didn't just remove the area around the teeth; they removed the entire area and replaced it. Or possibly they just sort of enhanced the teeth or something. Anyway, the teeth were the most noticeable because like the lighting on the teeth made them, well, the fake lighting on the teeth made them sort of shine. They looked um concerningly pearlescent.
But he's
Like,
Superman.
oh yeah, sure, okay.
This is a
fair enough.
character
Yeah,
that
I
you would
feel like that-
smile and expect that the teeth do the little ding.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I mean, like, it looked really uncanny valley because like you cut to a close up of him, then you cut to Amy Adams who has like the regular amount of lighting on the teeth, whereas then you cut to Superman who it looks like he has like just a dentist light directly on his teeth, and it's like the scenes where Henry Cavill is in it and he doesn't have that, he doesn't look like that.
I did notice that he had very white teeth, but I don't think
Yeah.
that it was like
It
weird.
was.
It didn't look weird to me. I think that you went into the movie looking for it, so you were distracted by it. But let's stop talking about the stupid CGI beard. What did you actually think of the movie?
It was kind of a mess. It was definitely a mess. There were a lot of problems, most of which was just it's the same problem that Fantastic Four had, where it's like, okay, yeah, this was reshoots and is trying to
Surely it was better than
But those are all.
Fantastic
But
Four.
the thing is,
well,
those
yeah,
are all
you're-
things that like are behind the scenes. What did you actually think of like what was shown in the movie? Because
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
no,
yeah,
this
it's
is-
obvious that the reason for why the movie had problems was the reshoots and stuff. But what
Well, yeah.
actual art like issues did you
Was
have
the
with the movie?
problem.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's what I was saying. Okay. So the biggest problem was it was a little bit tonally inconsistent. But honestly, it was a lot better than the other ones. A lot of people probably would. I could see it have being much worse if the reshoots weren't done. That's
Yeah,
what was
I would
about to
say, well, no, I think the reshoots probably made it better because you could tell that
Oh,
the
yeah.
parts
Oh, yeah,
that were
that's-
yeah,
reshot
absolutely.
made it better. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like if you set aside Wonder Woman, it's probably like the best job that they've done.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad to say, but well, except for maybe like the original Man of Steel, like as a movie, it was an okay movie, even though it had plot holes.
Oh, Man of Steel?
Yeah.
Oh no, the problem with Man of Steel was not the plot holes. The problem with Man of Steel was it was one of the things I was going to segue but completely forgot is Man of Steel did the same thing that Dunkirk did, except first off, it put like 40 minutes of really bad Zack Snyder dialogue before the action, and unlike Dunkirk, it wasn't going for a feeling of terror. It was going for a yeah, get him! Oh, he got feeling that gets really blunted when a bunch of people are punching each other and not gaining anything because they're both superpowered and invincible. And for when it goes on for literally an hour of 40 minutes of your movie, like it was 3 fight scenes. It was Man of Steel was such a mess. Man of Steel was
I don't know. I don't quite agree with that. I think that it had a lot of problems, but I don't think a lot of the problems was the pacing of the movie. I don't know. I think a lot of the problems was the characterization was really poor, and like the actual dialogue was bad. But I think I don't know.
Really bad.
As a spectacle, like I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I thought that it.
But
was
it's funny that you
horrible
say
spectacle.
say that it kind of reminds you of like a worse version of Dunkirk, right? Because the whole movie was intended to be like a take on Superman similar to Nolan's take on Batman. Yeah. So the fact that it's kind of just a worse Nolan movie is kind of funny and makes sense. But I would say like as movies, I would say the only one that even is remotely close to being as good as it is or as close to good as this new one, Justice League, discounting Wonder Woman, is Man of Steel. Like those are the two even half decent movies in the whole set.
Yeah.
So like
I would almost say that like I would definitely put just like honestly I haven't seen Batman versus Superman, but compared to
no,
the
that
other
one
two,
easily garbage.
yeah,
And then
easily garbage.
also Suicide Squad was
Suicide
also
Squad was
pretty bad.
also really trash. I saw Suicide Squad and I put it really low. The thing is I have like this the thing of DC movies where it's like I've seen two good ones and two bad ones. Well, I don't know if I would count Justice League as good. I would put it down where it's
I'd say it's an okay movie. Yeah, like it's not a great movie.
That it is
but...
a step in the right direction for DC if Wonder Woman hadn't already jumped past it.
Right.
Like,
I think that my main issue with Justice League was the same issue I had with Suicide Squad, but to a lesser extent. Suicide Squad spent so much of the movie establishing every character that the actual, like, climax of the movie didn't feel impactful because it was, like, not even about that. It felt.
Yeah.
Whereas at the Justice League was very similar in that most of the movie was just them meeting each other and introducing a bunch of characters. Like,
yeah. And that also had like a really strong effect on the villain. Like I always I dog on Marvel movies for the bad villains. Everyone dogs on Marvel.
This villain was the worst out of all of them.
Yeah, this Steppenwolf was really bad. Like I thought like I dogged on Thor Ragnarok for having a bad villain. Hell, it was way better than this guy. Fucking Diablo 2.
Yeah, in a way, like I feel like Hela was less of a villain and more of a plot device.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason they even bothered using Steppenwolf was because they didn't want to use Darkseid yet. Like they were very specifically saving him for a later movie, and if
probably
they hadn't had
Superman.
that mindset, yeah.
You know what's funny about Batman versus Superman to me?
What's that?
What they basically did was rush the last like third of Batman versus Superman was them trying to recreate one of the most controversial and least liked Superman stories of all time.
Yeah.
Because they were doing the death of Superman was the last third of Batman versus Superman, which is where Doomsday kills Superman. Which was just like it wasn't popular at the time. And this movie, why talk about it? Why, I don't know, emulate that now, especially when you dedicate a third of the movie to it, not even like a majority of the movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's my assumption. My assumption is that because I don't know if I want to put all the blame on the studios. My assumption is that Zack Snyder
it had to have been the like boardroom directors at Warner Brothers were like, make a movie where Batman and Superman fight. I don't care what you do, just do it.
Or what they were probably like is like, we need a movie with Batman and Superman so we can catch up to Marvel as quick as we can. What do you got, Zack Snyder? They fight and Superman dies. There's a comic book about that. I don't see any problem with that. Fucking go.
That wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Batman and Superman fighting isn't connected to this Doomsday book. They're separate. They mixed, like, the only real time that Batman and Superman ever really actually fight is Dark Knight Part 3. So there's Batman Year 1, and then there's the Dark Knight Returns, and then the third part is where the third one is where Batman and Superman actually fight, and this is when Batman's like an old man. Like this is not even like they're not even similar in the time of like timelines of when they should even be happening. So it's just like they smashed two stories together. One that's like
generally
kind of renowned as being a good story, with one that was like notably controversial, like and just smashed them together. So it's dumb. Like what they were trying to do with Batman versus Superman was like they were trying to take three different stories and blend them into one bad one.
Yeah, and at the helm was a man who had no idea what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, I'm glad that Zack Snyder is like out.
Yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, in Justice League, I mean, it was like it was definitely the like big tells for Joss Whedon is taking over this part now was obviously the mustache thing. The dialogue definitely gets better when when he takes over. There was a scene that I really noticed was very Zack Snyder when Lois Lane was talking to Ma Kent. I was just sitting there like, Amy Adams, you almost won the Oscar for Arrival. What the hell are you doing? I feel so bad for you. And then you got this other scene. Another big tell with Joss Whedon is Gal Gadot is put in like a pretty skimpy outfit with as much cleavage as she could possibly show.
Actually, Dark Knight Returns is the one where Batman and Superman fight. So there's Batman Year One and then Batman Returns, or the Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. But they were both Frank Miller books. That's kind of why they're well known. And Batman Year One is like one of the only stories that has since it's been written has never been out of continuity.
Yeah.
Like that's how important Batman Year One is to Batman's character.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail where you were going with
it. There was the scene where Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, was talking to Cyborg, and it's like, okay, the dialogue is a little bit better. Even in this, it's not like super. It's not even as fun and bouncy, but it's better. It's more interesting to listen to in general. Because I mean, that's a big problem with, and it's not Zack Snyder who is the writer for he has like a writer that works with him, and he was credited alongside Joss Whedon because Joss Whedon is the writer man for Joss Whedon. It's just the guy who works with Zack Snyder isn't very good at interesting dialogue. He's good at like dialogue for trailers. You're gonna be the best, Superman. We all
so Zack Snyder's writer should be an editor, not a writer. What you're saying?
Zack Snyder's writer
movie trailer
should
editor.
Be a possibly movie trailer editor or out on the streets. I think is where he belongs.
Okay. So what did you think of Flash?
I actually fucking hated him.
Really?
Okay, let me explain. He felt like as a comic relief, I loved Aquaman. I thought that Aquaman was actually great. And I felt like there was a scene where Batman goes and talks to Aquaman. I think I've heard people complaining about this, but I thought it was like the best scene in the movie. And like how the
a lot of people liked that scene from what I've heard.
But yeah, it was. I thought it was like totally the best scene in the movie, and how like the rest of the movie should have gone because like it's funny and interesting to listen to, but it isn't like trying to gain audience laughs. It's just like this kind of drunken guy who's just from Atlantis is just jaded and doesn't want to have anything to do with you dumb Batman bullshit. You dress up like a bat, that's fucking stupid. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't give a crap about any of your stuff. Man, listen, the world is coming down. I don't care. Fuck you. And he disappears out in the water, and that's the whole scene, and it's great. Eventually he does.
Yeah, I feel like this whole movie would have been done better justice had they just whatever. Had they just actually
better Justice League.
Yeah.
Shut up. Go on.
It would have been better had they just made an Aquaman movie and Flash movie first.
Yeah.
Like honestly, and maybe even a Cyborg movie, but I could see how maybe that origin story could have been tied in with this one better. But I feel like they just spent so much time introducing Aquaman and how he's like related to this, introducing Flash and how he's related to this. Like you could even have the same scenario where Batman and Wonder Woman are like going to meet individual people and just have them be co-starring in their movie, right? Yeah. But they should have actually given them their origin in a separate movie so that it didn't weight down Justice League.
Yeah, and especially Cyborg. What it felt like, right, was that Cyborg was going to be the character introduced in this movie. Yeah, because like how much of like his backstory really integrated with the plot of this movie. And it's like if they had a Flash movie and an Aquaman movie, it's fine. You introduce Cyborg into this one, almost like Hawkeye was in Thor before he was in Avengers. but almost like Hawkeye in Avengers. You just sort of put him in there, have him do stuff, make him a little bit integral to the plot, and everything meshes really nice. But unfortunately, nothing did. And that was my biggest problem in the movie. But definitely, like, a step up. I'm glad that they killed off Superman so that Superman could be reborn in Superman and not Man of Murder. It was very nice.
Murder.
Like I made the joke about like the mouth movement, but like just like he did have that line where he was a Superman, where he was Superman.
It's Superman type things.
Superman.
Yeah, he did Superman type things. He did try to kill the Flash a little bit while the Christopher Reeve Superman theme played, but that was just because he was a little bit crazy. Like that worked in the
In fairness, that was one of the best scenes of the whole movie where he's like,
oh yeah,
where he's fighting Flash. Yeah, that was probably one of the best scenes of the whole movie.
They took a thing in their book from the book that X-Men wrote on how to make characters fast, and it worked. With all the X-Men...
slightly less ridiculous than
yeah,
as far as Quicksilver went in that movie, but
yeah. But they had they did invoke the same feeling. So definitely a step in the right direction. 5 miles behind Wonder Woman.
So you didn't like Flash. What didn't you like about him? Because actually, a lot of people were saying they enjoyed him more than anything else in the movie. So I'm kind of interested.
My biggest problem with him is probably just there's this chart that I saw a long time ago. This fucking meme about the Big Bang Theory. It's like it's with small brains, big brain, and the biggest brain of all was the Big Bang Theory successfully shows off real nerds as being not funny and really annoying. That was my biggest problem with Flash.
I thought it was kind of funny. I think my issue was they tried to make him. They talked about how he was smart rather than like showing how he was smart.
Yeah,
and I think that was my biggest issue with it. Yeah. As a character, he felt more like Wally West, like a socially awkward Wally West, rather than Barry Allen.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting to me because Barry Allen is a very serious character. Wally West is the jokey one.
Yeah,
and in terms of like how young he would be, and how like how jovial he would be, that seemed like a Wally West Flash, not a Barry Allen Flash. So that was kind of interesting to me. I think they want to do Flashpoint with Flash next.
Oh yeah, that was like set up in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, very very obviously set up in Batman vs Superman. Yeah. So I think that, although that's gonna be weird because, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess maybe the reason why they didn't want to make Flash before Justice League was because they would have to make a Flash movie, Justice League, and then Flashpoint Paradox. Flashpoint would change everything. Like the Flashpoint changes everything. So actually, it's very funny. They're doing Aquaman next.
Yeah.
Then if they actually go through with it, they'll do Flash, which is a perfect point in time
to replace Barry Allen with
the perfect time to reboot all of Justice League and start fresh, because that is what happens in the comics. Flashpoint Paradox introduces the New 52, which is the current like run of comic books.
Yeah.
So that is like that would be the perfect time to do it, and then they can do stuff like pull out what's his face? The Batman guy, Ben Affleck. I think there's going to be another Batman movie too, supposedly, but like at this point, who cares? Yeah, honestly.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. That might also help to explain, because I mean, I don't know if I think that's maybe where they're trying to head, because like they've dug themselves in such a ditch.
I don't think they realized how bad they were doing when they did Batman versus Superman. They just thought, hey, I know it was probably like one of the most influential and interesting Flash stories ever, Batman or Flashpoint. Let's set that up.
Let's throw that into They probably you are probably right. They were just like, let's do that, and now they're like, they're 2 Joker movies. They're working on 2 Joker movies with 2 different
I
Jokers.
feel like at this point, Ben Affleck and Warner Brothers could just kind of mutually agree not to do another Batman movie. Because I don't know that either of them really want to do it at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Do we want to move on?
I think I can move on. Basically, my thoughts for Justice League were in comparison to the previous DC movies, it's definitely a step above. In comparison to, I mean, other movies, including super movies I've seen, it's pretty down the
Close
line.
to the pretty low to the bottom.
It's not,
I would say that it's okay if what you want is a movie where people beat stuff up.
Yeah,
like
it's
honestly,
okay
that's what it's good at.
People beat stuff
if you want to see Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman's there too, and also Aquaman and the Flash, and some
more like Batman and Wonder Woman are there, and also Superman and Flash are there. This movie was mostly about Batman and Wonder Woman. It felt like so.
Yeah, Batman's the most popular. Wonder Woman's the only one who had a good movie. So
basically. Well, and Superman was dead for most of the movie, so
yeah, I would do it too.
I would say, well, probably about half of the movie he was dead.
Nah, I would say 2/3. He comes back in the last act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like, in a weird way, Justice League was trying to fix up a lot of the problems coming out of Batman versus Superman, like Superman being dead.
Yeah. And Superman being a
Did you watch the end credit scene? Or did you just leave?
One?
There was
there were 2.
The one at the end was Lex Luthor.
Oh yeah. I didn't see the Lex Luthor one. I saw the other one.
Well, spoiler at the end, Lex Luthor is talking about creating a league of his own, and he's talking to Deathstroke or Slade.
Yeah.
Solomon Grundy want pants too.
Yep. Here we go.
Moving on.
Oh, what are we moving on?
What was I watching? I was watching something that was like talking about a League of Super, and then what came to mind was Solomon Grundy.
Boomerang.
I don't even remember what it was, but anyway, is there any other movies you want to talk about, or is that?
Those are the only 2 that I saw.
Why don't I talk about movies and then we wrap back around to video games? How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I saw Shape of Water.
Oh boy.
The Guillermo del Toro movie, which was funny because this kind of intersects with what we were talking about. Because at the VGAs they had a trailer for Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it was after the Death Stranding trailer. They were like, and here's Guillermo del Toro, and he's like,
okay,
hi,
yeah,
I love video games, but check out my movie. I don't know. It was kind of interesting.
I love Hideo Kojima. Is my best friend. I'm in a 3-way relationship with him and Mads Mikkelsen. So
I think he had a line like Hideo Kojima makes me dream of weird shit, and that's like one of the best things you can ask for, or something like that. He had a weird ass line about that.
Is that right?
And like from Guillermo del Toro, that's high praise.
Yeah,
man.
really. So Shape of Water. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Okay, so Shape of Water was, if you don't know, it's kind of like Guillermo del Toro's interpretation of what a good modern version of Black Lagoon would be. And also it's a romance.
Yeah.
It was really good. Like straight off the bat, I'm just gonna say it was very good. They did a lot of interesting practical effects. I think they probably mixed in a little bit of CG stuff, but nothing heavy. Like nothing super noticeable. Like there were things that were glowing and stuff that you were thinking, okay, maybe that's probably CG. But other than that, like it's very, very practical effects, which looks cool. I mean, and that's only something you would kind of notice if you sort of know about that stuff.
Right.
Very convincing effects.
I have a question.
Sure.
Was the Black Lagoon Fishman monster actually just not Abe Sapien? Or like,
no, he was not. He was
that
not.
Vibe from him.
He did not talk.
Oh, okay.
At any point in the movie.
Okay.
So actually, and yeah, I'll go through some of the setup. So the main character in this movie is actually mute because they sort of talk about how she had some sort of accident and she was an orphan, and when they found her, she had scars on her neck that suggested that she like had some issue with her throat, so she could not speak. But she could hear, and she talked in sign language. So actually, a lot of the communication between her and the creature was through sign language.
Okay.
Very interesting, very well done. Like, very good acting too. She like it for a character or for a movie where the main character was like mute. They did a really good job of like having a large emphasis on music and art and stuff. It was very interesting.
That's cool.
And like I think there's not many movies that like so heavily feature a mute character. So really interesting. Very tough to like act out a character who sort of can't speak and has to like convey a lot of information with body language.
Right.
So that was really cool. I actually, she was pretty much the best part of the movie, honestly. As interesting and cool as the creature was, she was like the best part of the movie. They had a couple of other characters who had like sort of subplots. The villain had a subplot, and like main character's room, like, or best friend, I guess, the main character's friend had a subplot, and those did a good job of explaining why they would be helping her. Well, except for the villain, and the villain subplot really explained like what his mentality was. I really like it when movies spend a lot of time on the villain and making the villain interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, you run into Justice League problems where a villain just shows up and does things. So like,
after 10,000 years, I'm free.
Yeah, basically.
And spoiler, the villain in the movie is not the creature. So, so
I mean, you could gain that from the
yeah, if you watch the trailer, you can kind of see like what's happening. I don't know. I really loved the movie. It's definitely worth watching. I like maybe you go into it knowing that it does have some romantic elements to it, but it is a very interesting movie and very like it was very good with the setting because it was set in like the 60s. I don't know. Was it the 60s?
It was.
Yeah, it was set in the 60s and it felt that way. It was very I don't know what like looking for, but it fit. It worked well.
Right.
Very good movie. I had, because it was a limited release through Fox Searchlight, I had to go to a very specific theater that made it very expensive, but I would say it was worth it.
Okay.
I spent $30 on tickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Shape of Water, very good.
Speaking of villains, one of the villains, and it almost doesn't surprise me that Guillermo del Toro does a really good villain, because one of the villains that like I constantly go back to is in one of my favorite movies, possibly my favorite movie, definitely my favorite movie of Guillermo del Toro's is Pan's Labyrinth. In that movie, there is a villain. A lot of people talk about like the best villains are villains that like the hero possibly has a better motivation than the hero, and that you can relate to more than that. And the worst villains are villains that just do horrible, evil things. Captain Vidal in Pan's Labyrinth is this horrible, horrible person that does horrible, horrible things. He has reasons for doing them, but they're very almost shallow reasons, but he's such a great villain. He is just the worst human being ever, and like it just goes to show, don't read charts off the internet. That was the whole point I was making.
Main character was a villain.
Laby.
Whatever. I've given up already. I could not think of how to spell labyrinth off the top of my head, so I just gave up. I'm really bad with the vowels. I mix vowels up really easy. I don't know why. It's
And you
just
throw
always
Y
been...
in the mix, and it's just...
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about Y, honestly, but uh, yeah.
Only sometimes.
In Shape of Water, the villain was really interesting because he still seemed like he was still a villain, and he had bad motivations, and he was kind of a jerk ass, but you could kind of see why he was doing the things he was doing, so it made sense.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
so basically,
you didn't agree with his actions, but you could see why he might do them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was sort of the same thing with Captain Vidal. Like, this man, he wanted to die a hero's death on the battlefield like his father did, and do the same thing so that his son would remember him. But he also beat the fuck out of people. Like, he beat their noses in, murdered women, tortured women, just all this horrible shit, and it was great. I love him. But yeah, I am extremely excited for Shape of Water. I am glad that you got to see it. I'm probably not going to be able to see it in its limited release, but I'll be able when it gets that good nationwide release on the 22nd. Then I'll be able to go see it.
I saw it in its limited release because I did not know that it was going to have a wide release, so I wanted to see it so that I didn't miss it. But now that I'm hearing it might have a wider release, it's like maybe I shouldn't have spent $30 on tickets, but
yeah,
oh well.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I mean, you got to see it. You got to see it like basically when everybody or when a lot
when
of
the
people...
hype had started.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Shape of Water was good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I did
I'm
watch
glad to
the
hear
end
it
of...
and not surprised.
I did finish Punisher this week too.
Oh,
okay, cool.
I don't really have too much to add from what I said about it earlier. I really like it. And that was another one. That was another one where the villain was very interesting.
Yeah.
Even if it had like a subplot villain who was sort of unnecessary in places, but I definitely one of the better villains up there. Not quite on the same level as Kingpin, but definitely like up there.
Yeah.
So definitely better than a lot of the hand stuff that happens in some of those other ones.
Yeah.
Definitely better than Luke Cage, which while Coppermouth was probably a really good villain, like he wasn't like the villain, so it kind of messed up his relationship with Coppermouth. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should have just done something more climactic with Coppermouth in Luke Cage, and just if they wanted to do Diamondback, they did Diamondback later.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know.
But yeah, Punisher was very good. It kept me happy with it till the end. I still don't understand why people were saying it's slow and inconsistent and whatever. It didn't drag on for me at all.
No.
I did have to set it down because I had other stuff happening, but it was still very good. I liked it.
Like, it was definitely like one of the, like, you wouldn't get bored and be like, okay, I'm gonna do something.
Yeah,
right.
I completely agree. Punisher was wonderful. I loved it. I also don't know why there were some...
Punisher was
like
probably the one that I was most hyped for, because I like Punisher the best of the Netflix hero cast, so...
You know, it's kind of weird
and Iron Fist, but, like, the beginning of that was so bad that I was like, okay, all hype dead.
It's kind of weird to me because, you know, a lot of critics like to criticize movies for not being very deep, not being very, having a lot of character development and stuff. But then when they talk about any, like, sort of superhero plot, suddenly it's like, oh, they shouldn't be spending so much time developing the characters. They should be fighting things. And it's like, what?
This is
weird.
slight...
It's weird.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing. First off, these are kind of different critics. Like, these are specifically different critics. Like, these are the television talking about Punisher.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
That it does make sense. So I guess when you compare it to other... I guess really Punisher sort of should be looked at as like a miniseries or like a longer, like almost a really long movie rather than a television series. It's less serial, right? It's less. Yeah. It is one story told over a number of episodes rather than like kind of monster of the week.
A bunch of different things. Yeah, right. That's the thing. That's the direction that television has sort of been taking, and not even just because of Netflix. even before Netflix took that big step with House of Cards into like producing their own stuff, that's what TV was doing. You had like Sopranos and The Wire, all having like episodes that were
Sopranos.
on,
I wouldn't count because that was still HBO.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enoff.
And Game of Thrones and
The Wire was also HBO. But
and The Wire and even Westworld, like you kind of can't count HBO for the same reason you sort of can't count Netflix, right? Because the format is sort of different. Like in Netflix's case, it's different because you have everything available, so you can take it as much as you want. It's easier to, because it's built to be on demand. You sort of can choose when to watch the episodes. And with HBO, they're a little bit different just because they operate sort of differently.
Yeah.
Whereas, normal television series are about individual episode plots. So with
unless
maybe
like AMC move forward with that, or past that, I suppose. With like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Breaking Dad. That pretty much was that was still the plot of Breaking Bad.
Fuck you, Dad.
Fuck you, Dad, from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Dad, from Malcolm in the Middle.
So yeah,
fuck you,
I don't know.
Dad,
I guess
Malcolm in the Middle.
I really do think ABC is not ABC. AMC is the anomaly because compared to other television producers or whatever, they're definitely more.
Fox is doing it a little bit too with some of their shows. Like I think Homeland is one of them like that.
I'm not watching
a lot of them are moving forward. Basically, the only ones that aren't nowadays are the
I would still say a majority of them don't though. Even the ones that have some loose continuity and have larger like subplots, like story arcs that are subplots, those things are more common, but usually those are even wrapped up in like a story of the week thing. Like I think Blacklist comes to mind for me. Those have that series has a very obvious continuity to it, but
it's very episode of the week.
But yeah, you can sort of watch them out of order. It's just the greater subplot that usually ends towards the end of the season, right? Like that's where things start to wrap up.
Yeah.
So
and that is true for a lot of network television, and like it almost is to the point where the original television like the original television channels, you got ABC, NBC. Oh, what's the other one? I'm trying to think. The original television channels are the only ones that are doing
ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and
I'm thinking even before Fox.
Well, you should count Fox now.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, they're the ones that are doing like, really serialized stuff, and a lot of them are losing a lot of viewership because people ain't watching that.
But Fox is interesting because they have Fox and they also have FX, and those are actually the same studios. And on Fox they do more of the episodic sort of things, but on FX they did Legion, which was incredibly like linear in its plot. So I think that it's sort of like, it's interesting that maybe like on broadcast television they do it that way, but on cable they kind of take a different approach.
Yeah,
that's why AMC and that's why AMC also works that way, because they're a cable network. Right. I don't know. It's interesting. But at the same time, even like I would say The Walking Dead was one of the first to kind of do that, discounting HBO. But that was already when you could catch up on episodes online if you needed to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the internet that we can thank for some of this.
Yeah, and in TV, that's where a lot of like creators are moving to. Like David Fincher specifically is moving to TV because it's like the studios in Hollywood are so desperate for money that what they want to do is they just want to do what they're pretty damn sure will make the money. They want to be safe.
I think I think, and also especially for someone like David Fincher, right?
Yeah.
I think that in Hollywood, on like large movies, it's harder to take your time with things.
Yeah.
Whereas you're given a little bit more of a leash to take your time in developing TV stories.
Yeah.
So I think that might have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and that's especially because like Hollywood definitely feels like if your movie is 2.5 hours long, we're taking a risk. Like the days of like the 20s and 60s, the 3-hour epics, 4-hour epics, those are over. Hollywood doesn't do those movies anymore.
Although Coco was very long, surprisingly, like for a
yeah.
animated film, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
They kind of knew they could get away with it because they're Pixar, maybe.
Yeah, but like the last movies I can think that were like big Hollywood. Oh wait, no, hold on, that's not actually true. That was New Line, which was sort of like mid-low level Hollywood, were the Lord of the Rings movies. That was were 3 hours long in even the theatrical cuts. And Hollywood just doesn't do
and
that
Harry
anymore.
Potter also was very long. Some of them
I
were
don't
very
know if
long
any of
towards
those
the end.
got. I don't think those got to 3 hours. I think those were just 2.5. Because like 2.5.
Yeah, but 2.5 is still
points.
long though, for most movies. They kind of.
I
still think they grumble when they're reaching that mark.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's like you can do 2.5 hours long, and like Hollywood sees that as a risk. 2.5 hours is a risk, and that's like the cutoff point. That's what I'm saying. Like couldn't do Lawrence of Arabia nowadays. You couldn't do Ben-Hur. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but probably shouldn't anyway. To be honest.
I don't know. Like those were of course incredible movies, and they give you a lot.
I feel like something like Lawrence of Arabia you could get away with doing online, but in the theater it's like that. No theater would want to run Lawrence of Arabia because they get money on individual ticket sales. So if you can't, if you can't do that, you can't. I don't know.
Yeah. But they do, of course, get most of their money on concessions. So that might actually be part of the problem. And
that is a lot of what it is, I think.
Yeah, and of course it is Hollywood looking at like people don't want to sit down for 4 hours and watch a 4-hour movie. The fuck you crazy? What do you fucking think this is? The 20s? Get the hell out of here! Fuck you. Even though people are actively binging on Netflix.
You know, most of the Harry Potters were like 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, I think all of them were 2.5 hours.
Actually, the shortest ones were the last two, which was a 2-part. But they were 2:10 each. So.
Oh, okay.
Harry Potter 3 2 hours 22 minutes. Harry Potter 4 2 hours 37 minutes. 5 2 hours 22 minutes. 6 2 hours 33 minutes, and then 7 and 8 were 2:10.
Yeah.
So altogether over 4 hours.
Yeah.
Squeeze them together.
Right, like 4.5 hours. Basically.
Yeah, basically.
And those are the theater cuts. They had cut scenes in those movies as well. If we're done with movies and TV, is there anything else we want to talk about before we head to a break?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Do you want to play anything this week?
Oh no, I was gonna head to a break since we're at 1 hour in.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to just. Well, I don't know. We could do games too.
Let's take a quick break before games because games is pretty much all we have left. We have like I think
then news.
I have like a.
Well, there's actually kind of a lot to talk about in terms of games.
There's a lot of news today.
Okay.
Well, yeah. We're gonna go 3 hours probably, right? So
yeah,
we might. Okay. Why don't we just do games and then that'll be like an hour and a half. Then we can take a break.
I don't have anything to really talk about because all I played was the thing for the videos, so nothing new.
Endless Space 2, which I.
Oh wait, no, hold on. I played a little bit of Wasteland 2 and a little bit of Divinity Original Sin.
Oh yeah.
I am really liking all of the like magic combination stuff in Divinity a lot more now that I've played it a little bit more. And I do really like the fact that it's a very sort of not just like combat heavy CRPG, but that there's a bunch of other stuff to do. Like you run around the town and you talk to all these people to try and solve this mystery, and you being like this sleuthy detective, and all of that is really great. That's like my favorite.
I like how balanced it is with the classic CRPG feel of quests, while also having a pretty robust combat system as well. It doesn't feel like they skimped on either of it. And I think the combat system feels even better when you're playing in multiplayer, because then you're working directly with someone else to coordinate attacks, whereas when you're doing it all yourself, it's like, of course I'm gonna like combo in this way, but when you're working with someone else, you don't necessarily even know what they have. So
it takes longer. Like I remember when Saine and I were playing it together, I was like, okay, like I could imagine
to spend like an hour.
I could imagine if I were playing. I could imagine playing it by myself, right? You know, if say I made the same character that Saine had, I'd be like, okay, well, I know I have some poison arrows, so I'm gonna shoot a poison arrow, and then I'll have my mage fireball it. But when, like, I was like, okay, my mage's turn is coming up, saying, do you have any poison arrows? And he had to look through his inventory and be like, no. Or, yeah, and I would be like, okay, put the poison arrow here, and then, that made it feel more fun than just like thinking about it by myself, I guess.
I agree.
And all of that, like the mechanics, I feel like are really good, and it probably would be a lot more fun with other people, because like playing alone, I do notice that it's a little bit clunky as far as like the basic stuff. Like sometimes it'll be like it'll like immediately go from one character's turn to another character's turn. And I'll like try to click on a specific thing, but then I'll try to click on an enemy, but then the character will end up just walking.
Are you playing? I have a question. Are you playing the original version or are you playing the enhanced edition?
I'm playing the enhanced edition.
Okay, because we played the original version. I don't think we ever tried playing the enhanced edition.
We didn't. Because we would have to start over. The save files don't transfer.
Right. Yeah. So I don't actually know what's different between the versions, but I was just curious.
Yeah, but anyway, about it, these problems are still there. So
hopefully they tighten up some of the basic stuff in Divinity.
In 2,
And the nice thing about 2 is they also make it up to 4 players, so we can play that, all 3 of us.
I think one of the
plan for the
problems, the movement problems are that it does not use a tile system. It uses like a distance system, so you can position yourself anywhere, but there's not set tiles, so you might try to click on a character's model, and then your character would just move the distance that you click instead of trying to click in an enemy's tile.
Right, and then there's no like confirming when you accidentally misclick.
So I might like fuck up something and be like, all right, well, gotta fucking reload this save. I'm already gonna die.
Pretty much,
yeah. The combat in it's pretty darn hard.
It is,
and time consuming. Like we were like, okay, that took an hour and a half. So I don't know.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons.
But more fun.
Which is sort of almost the combat, anyway. Opposite of like what I found with Wasteland 2. In Wasteland 2, all of the combat is very fluid. It all of the basic mechanics. It's like okay, this is the same game I was playing when I played Fallout with the combat, but it all works. It's like that. It just works. You put all your people.
Just like Fallout, it just works.
I should try Wasteland 2.
It's good.
You should. You put all your people in your specific
just like
places.
Fallout. I feel like Fallout. It's like it doesn't just work. Fallout a lot of times stuff breaks.
Yeah.
Especially the newer ones where the Gamebryo engine just sends people flying into the sky and stuff.
Only the newer ones. Fallout 1 and 2 do just work.
No, Fallout 1 definitely were moments of this doesn't work.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I never played Fallout 2.
Thel having to reload an hour-old save because one of his followers wouldn't move out of a doorway no matter what he tried.
Yeah. Thank God they fixed that in Fallout 2. Thank you, game developers, for fixing that problem 20 years ago. Wasteland 2 does not have that problem. I've never been stuck in a door. Doors are definitely always wide enough. I also love that fun Fallout thing of just trying things over and over until they work, or there's this plot thing where it's like this guy is the bad guy because either it's obvious or you loaded this save before, so you hit him out of combat and then he just goes, "How did you know?" Because I've done this 5 times before, bitch. Suck my grenade.
I feel like
pickpocket him, put a dynamite stick in his pocket, run.
I feel like safe scumming in CRPGs is like expected. So
yeah, that's like one of those things that they.
Well, and here's the thing: it's not even.
I wasn't
around. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even like save scumming with some of these. I was just dying and going back to a previous save.
Fair.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like on the matter of save scumming in CRPGs, it's like, okay, you have a chance to pick this door. Oh, I failed.
Okay, I don't do that sort of thing.
That's save scumming. But
okay,
if you get into combat, know you're going to lose. It's like it's not really save scumming.
Another thing I do sometimes, where like in a CRPGs, is like, okay, I can tell that this is an important question, but I don't really know what these options do. So I'm gonna save, try some of the options, and then like reload and find the one that I actually want.
Yeah, that's a little save scummy.
That's a little save scummy, but I feel like that. At the same time, there's like weird issues about them being sort of unclear when they wrote it, which happens sometimes in CRPGs.
There's still situations too, like you can talk yourself into a fight that you would lose, and then it's not really save scumming because you have to reload at that point.
Yeah.
So,
my problem with Wasteland 2 is just that it seems so big that I'm afraid to touch it.
It's fucking gigantic.
Actually, like, that's the biggest problem I have with video games. Is like, I have trouble starting a new game because I'm like intimidated by how big it is.
Right.
Which leads into the next game that I played, Nier Automata.
Oh my god.
I eventually started Nier Automata.
Hang on, before you start talking about it, how far along are you?
Based on talking with you, it seems like I'm most of the way through, like half to most of the way through the first playthrough. So I'm not super far into it.
You've not beaten.
Yeah, I've not beaten
2B's playthrough.
Right.
Yeah.
So far I'm liking it. I mean, a lot of the complaints that I see about Nier Automata seems to line up with how I feel about it. Like, the combat is not super interesting.
Yeah,
especially in the beginning where you have access to very limited a number of weapons.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that gets better later, but
sort of. By the time you get to 9S's playthrough, you're not really using all of the weapons that you get as much.
Yeah, one of the things is I got the dual swords. And that made my experience a little bit better because I enjoyed using heavy, like a second light sword as my heavy attack rather than one of the heavier swords as my heavy attack. So but there's a little bit of like, I guess I'll buy all of the weapons just to see what they're like, which is kind of weird.
Also, when you
feels like a waste of money too.
When you like level your weapon to the maximum level, they get like a bonus, like a unique bonus effect. So
right, but I feel like I can tell what I would need to do to get some of the materials for those things, but I don't want to because that seems like grinding that I don't care about. So
that's why I just kind of stuck with Virtuous Contract and Virtuous Treaty for the whole game. Because
I got Virtuous Contract, and then I got like this one that has an eyeball on it, and it looks spooky.
Probably from Drakengard.
Maybe. I don't know. I bought it from one of the vendors.
A lot of the weapons are from like the original Nier and Drakengard games.
That's funny.
So that's another one of the things that like this game has a lot of like hidden story stuff. So whenever you level up a weapon, you get a story about the weapon. One of the weapons straight up tells you a story about one of the characters from Nier.
Yeah.
And it is a weapon that like it's like something like, oh, my brother died and this and that and that and that this, but that's a story that you can experience in Nier. So, Nier 1, the original Nier.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't know. The combat is not super great, and it's not very difficult. The most difficult there's one fight that was very difficult, but I feel like it was difficult because they locked me into being a 2D fighting game. Or like brawler. That? I don't want to say because it's pretty spoilery that fight even happens and where it happens and all of that stuff. Oh. But there's a fight against a particular guy where they lock you into a 2D plane.
Oh, okay,
and that's
I remember. Yeah, I remember the fight.
I really did not enjoy that fight.
You got to do it again, but the fight's a lot easier in the second playthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could tell that my partner was fighting fighting the other one in the background, but but yeah, like I really did not enjoy that fight. But other than that, I have not had an issue with basically any fight in the whole game. So
yeah.
You know,
I'm playing on default difficulty, so whatever. I would not turn it up.
It's health and damage values. It's one of those.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's health and damage values. I think it's just you can't use some of your plug-in chips.
No, on the hardest difficulty, you get one shot by everything.
Oh, okay.
Right. Beginner difficulty gives you the easy mode plug-in chips.
Oh, okay.
Once you turn it to normal, you don't have those, but that's the difference. The hard difficulty is health and damage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then there's what? No, I think the third one, it's straight up just everything one shots you.
Probably.
Are there only 3 difficulties or are there 4? I forget.
I think there's 4.
If there's 4, then the 4th one just makes it so everything instant gives you.
Yeah,
and then I think the third one probably just is more health and
2B must die mode.
Yeah.
Which I think would be kind of fun because it's not super often that I get hit anyway.
Yeah.
And it would kind of force you into
a sort of
situation. Sure I've died once that I can think of.
Yeah.
And that was against one of the bosses.
I lost the fight you were talking about, the 2D one, the first time.
Oh, I didn't lose that one, but it was annoying. I got close. I spent a lot of that fight healing, but, you know. It almost felt like that one... It almost felt like that fight was timed, not damage.
Maybe.
Like, I don't even feel like I was ever doing damage. I felt like I just had to live.
I had to do that fight multiple times for the Nier video, and yeah, it's timed.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
It's a conversation, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I only barely made it through that, but it definitely, like, that was frustratingly hard. Mm-hmm. But the only time I actually died, and the reason I remember it's the only time I actually died, is because I died in a boss room, and when you die, it leaves your corpse, and you can pick up it and get all your stuff back if you pick up your corpse, kind of like in Dark Souls. And my corpse was like 3 inches from me when I died, so it was like, or when I like continued, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll pick up my stuff, I guess. It didn't even like make me start the boss over from the beginning. It started me off from like one of the middle phases, which was but
I remember at one point I was like running through the game like after I died and like stopped, and then I came back and I was like, what the hell happened on my plug-in chips? This is weird, because this was like the next day or like a couple days later, and I was like, what? This is weird. Like I swear I had these plug-in chips. I guess I just uninstalled them for like a different set or something. So I went and redid like similar plug-in chips because I was like, okay, this is what I had on. I remember having healing and hacking damage and this and that. And then like later I was just like running around the world and I was like, fuck is this? And
just picking up random bodies.
Picking up random bodies, and I pick up my own body and get like 45 plug-in chips, and I was like, that's what happened! That's why I felt so bad. Yeah.
Although I'm not to like brag or anything, but I tend to be pretty good at games like this anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I don't tend to die very often in games. Like that was actually like one of the annoying things in there's one. Oh yeah, Shadow of Mordor. I think I only died like maybe once or twice in the whole game. And that game gets a lot more boring if you don't die to things. Because I had one enemy that I remembered, like, that was my, like, nemesis enemy. And he was, like, he got lucky and killed me. And then he became my nemesis just because the one time in the whole fucking game I died was on accident to that guy. And he wasn't even like a boss enemy when I died to him. He was just like a normal enemy.
The only thing I died to in Shadow of Mordor was, funnily enough, one of our other friends' nemesis enemies who had invaded my game, and he was just like rising through the ranks over and over again, and like I finally went to challenge him, and it was like ridiculous. He was like the ugliest motherfucker you've ever seen, and his name was, obviously it wasn't exactly this, but it looked shockingly similar to like Kawaii-chan the murderer. it was like
it was like a ridiculous name.
it was like Kawi-cha or something, but I just kept calling him Kawaii-chan. And he killed me like 4 times, and I was like, all right, I can't beat this guy.
So yeah, I like Nier. I'm having fun with it so far. I'm really interested in seeing how the other playthroughs change up combat and change up the story. I feel like one thing I don't kind of, and this is just like a personal thing that is annoying me about Nier, like I never know which side quests are going to be interesting. So I have to kind of do all of them, which makes me, which feels like I'm wasting my time because a lot of the side quests are really boring and pointless.
Yeah.
In terms of story, but some of them are really interesting and like I want to do them. So I feel like I'm running around doing all of these quests that some of them are really like annoying. Like there's at least 2 escort quests that I've done already, and they're okay, but man, do those take a lot of time following a slow character.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, excuse me, not only that, but some of the side quests start out like really, really boring, and then they just get better like at the very end. So it's like, so there were a bunch of side quests that I just like put off, and then like, you know, when I got to like the end of the second playthrough, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this side quest.
I heard going into this game that the side quests are some of the best content in the game. Yeah. And in your first playthrough, you might as well do a majority of them there, because in your second playthrough, you have a similar overlap of time.
In your second playthrough, though, there are side quests that you straight up can't do, and then there are other side quests that 2B didn't have access to because...
Right, so I'm going out of my way to do basically every side quest I can, because I kind of know that to a lot of people, the side quests are almost more interesting than the main story, so I'm kind of...
Yeah. They're also...
dragging my way through that. So, I don't know. I really like it, though.
Quests will, like... They won't exactly give you spoilers. I wouldn't call them that because they're in the game.
They give you hints towards... Like, they foreshadow, right?
They give you good foreshadowing, like, oh, that's weird.
Right. You hear my cat yelling?
Yes.
It wants inside in my room. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm liking Nier, but I have to spend more time with it, obviously. Kind of a long game.
Yeah. It is.
But not nearly as long as a lot of the games I played lately this year, so, like...
Yeah.
It's weird to like, complain about Nier being long when, like, I've put 100 hours into Zelda and, like, 40 hours into Persona, and... I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to talk about before we go to break? Did you maybe you want to talk about RimWorld?
I wanted to talk quickly about Overlord because last week never happened.
Well, I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm just gonna change it to Overlord.
Okay.
And then you can talk about it while I'm gone.
Okay. So Overlord is really fun. I really like it. You know, I've played it before, but I've never actually made myself get this far. I've been playing it on stream, so it's great. Like you take the role of an evil overlord who has a bunch of like minions that get spawned in the pits of hell or whatever. You're basically Sauron, except your minions aren't orcs; they're little gremlins.
Oh, okay.
And you know, like it has a lot of puzzle solving elements. I really like having to solve puzzles. Like even a lot of the fights are puzzle solving. Like sometimes you'll just have like, oh no, there's 10 dwarves coming at me. Let me just make them clash with my minions and make sure that the blues stay in the back so they don't die and can resurrect my minions, right? And then that's easy. But then there's other things where like, oh, this dude's a big fuck-a-loth cave troll. So the best thing to do is going to be have my green stealth minions on a banner over here, standing and waiting. And then I'll take my browns, make them clash, call them back, and then the troll chases my browns over to me while it's being pelted with fireballs. And then once it gets past the green minions, they all jump on his back and start eviscerating his spine. And then it makes it really easy. Whereas if you just were to clash all of your minions into the troll, he'd just be like, and kill them all. It's great. And then there's some minions like blue minions are immune to magic. So what I had to do at one point, I had to turn a wheel, and there was a skeleton that shot magic, like arcane magic, at your minions, and he was inaccessible. I couldn't like shoot at him; he was too far away. So I had to send a bunch of blues on a banner over there, like set him up, and he would just like pelt the blues with magic that they were immune to, so it didn't matter, and then have the rest of my minions turn a wheel. Then I could get to him and kill him. So it's a very, it's almost more of a puzzle game than anything else, which I like a lot.
The combat is just like solve puzzle.
Yeah, the combat is a lot of puzzle solving, exactly. And it's great. Or then there's like these dwarves that have explosive crossbow arrows. If you send the minions at them, they'll just shoot an explosive crossbow arrow at your minions while they're right next to them. It'll hurt them, but it'll also kill like 10 minions, which you don't want. So anytime I see one of those crossbow assholes, I finally figured out, I just walk up to him with my overlord, take a couple of shots, and kill him myself. And that's like the only enemy in the game that I want to kill with the overlord, because if your overlord dies, it's game over.
Yeah.
I basically never even fight anything with the overlord. Yeah, Overlord is a lot of fun. I have the other thing that I like about it, I think the most, is that you feel a constant power progression. Like, you're like, oh, over there is a minion totem. I could just skip past it, but I really want it. So I'm going to go solve this puzzle, fight these extra enemies, and then I'm going to take that minion totem. And now I can have 5 more minions, which makes a huge difference, because that's like an extra blue to revive people faster, and a couple more browns, like it's just really great. And the fact that you have to use all of your minions in particular ways, like last week, which isn't recorded, I said that I thought that it was really difficult to control my minions properly, and now I'm kind of realizing I don't always have to. Like, it's only for bigger enemies that I have to control them, and sometimes even with bigger enemies, you just wait for them to, like, stun themselves, and then you just swarm them and call back. So, it's not as hard as I was making it. That's probably why I was having such difficulty with it at the beginning. But basically, I think one of my viewers put it best. Could it be that you don't suck anymore? And yes, that's exactly it. I'm enjoying Overlord more because I don't suck at it.
Alright.
Yeah.
Getting better at the game makes the game more fun sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially when there's like this ramp of progression where you get better as like the game gets more difficult. So
the game gets more difficult, yeah.
So when the game throws stuff at you, you're basic, you know how to deal with it.
Yeah, you're like
still getting
forced.
your butt kicked, yeah.
Exactly. You're forced to get better.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Which is probably one of the appeals of something like Dark Souls.
Exactly. Yeah. So the other game I played a lot of recently is RimWorld, which RimWorld is an experience. Like, everybody was like, it's like Dwarf Fortress, but with a usable UI. And I was like, well...
That's what I said about it.
Yeah, but that's what everybody said about it, too. And I was like, well, I like Dwarf Fortress, and I don't have to fight with the UI in Dwarf Fortress, because I know how to play Dwarf Fortress. I know how to use the UI, I know all the commands, so it's that, like, that better UI is not an issue for me, right? So I think I'm not gonna bother with RimWorld. If I want to play a game like that, I'll just play Dwarf Fortress. And then I played RimWorld.
I think I finally convinced you to do it. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember why, but I just
I forget.
To try it.
How. And I was like, fine, I'll try. Oh, you know what? Because it went into like beta instead of alpha or something. I'll be right back. Why can we head to a break, actually?
Yeah, why don't we head to break?
I'll
We'll talk about it when we come back. How about
talk about
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We'll be back soon.
Yep.
All right.
I have to actually set up the break thing. When do you want to come back?
10 minutes.
Okay, so 5:35 then.
Okay.
See you guys then.
Soon.
And we're back.
Excellent.
Welcome back for the last, I don't know, hour and a half of the podcast. We were talking about RimWorld. I guess we're going to continue talking about RimWorld.
Right.
Anyway, RimWorld.
I didn't actually get to finish my thoughts on RimWorld here. RimWorld.
WinWorld.
But that's the thing about RimWorld. It is a Dwarf Fortress clone at its heart, so that means losing is fun. I guess the best way to kind of talk about how I like RimWorld is to tell you guys about my experience with RimWorld. My first colony, I like set up a bunch of colonists, rolled them. I was like, wow, yeah, these colonists look great. They're like really good at everything. They don't have many drawbacks. Yeah, I'll go in. And so I did it, and I queued up a bunch of build orders and stuff, and everything was going great until I ran out of wood. So I was like, okay, I'll just cut down some trees. I said I'll just cut down some trees. What's going on? All of my colonists that were so great and perfect at everything all refused to cut plants. So that was the failure of my first playthrough.
Fucked up.
I went through a couple more iterations. You know, I started to learn, okay, if I build a freezer really fast, I won't run out of food, because starvation was another problem that I had a lot. And eventually I got like a decent colony going. Keep the buildings separate. Everybody has their own room instead of a barracks and stuff like that. It's great. It was going good. And so I was like, all right, I have like 3 new guns that I just bought from this weapons merchant. I got a couple of attack buffalo. I'm gonna open up this evil labyrinth room or whatever. It's like, this room feels evil. Are you sure you want to unmine it? And I was like, yes. And then a bunch of death bots came out and killed my whole colony.
As one does.
As one does. And so I learned on that day, don't open those rooms unless you are really, really prepared. So I think next time that I get to open one of those rooms, I'm going to build like walls of sandbags and set all of my colonists trained their guns on it and have like my fastest dude uncover it and then get behind the sandbags there too. And
or just build like a tower defense game where
build a bunch
like
of
a path and then turrets everywhere, so they shoot them as they're coming through the path.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. But yeah, it's like it's one of those games that like I don't really mind when I lose my colony, because I know exactly how I fucked up and lost my colony. I'm like, oh god, I'm starving. I gotta fix this. And then finally everybody starves to death. And I'm like, okay, well now I know to do that before I start starving in the future. Stuff like that.
So now that you've put more time into it, how would you compare it to
I'd say it's really similar, but it has a lot of standout features that Dwarf Fortress just doesn't. Like, Dwarf Fortress is systems are all really robust and work well with each other perfectly. This doesn't have as robust of systems like for example, Dwarf Fortress, if you mine out a water for one Dwarf Fortress, you can go up and down because that's kind of the point of a Dwarf Fortress. You can't do that in RimWorld. You can't like move up, you can't dig down into the earth. So that's
100% sure that's true, but
what it does, I don't know either. I guess I haven't tried, or I haven't found a way to do it if it's possible. But the one thing that I really like about RimWorld that I think makes it stand out from Dwarf Fortress is you're not sitting around waiting for stuff to happen to you. Like, if there are traders in Dwarf Fortress, you are going to have to wait for them to come to you. And they have traders that will travel to you in RimWorld. But you can pack up a caravan and go out to somebody else's faction base and then trade with them that way. And
it doesn't seem like you can dig down, but you can dig into mountains and hills.
Okay, yeah.
But you can't dig down or
like
up.
Downwards into a mountain. That makes sense. So yeah, like it's really interesting because you can like send a caravan of people who are good at social things and like buy out another colony basically. It looks like there's also a button on the caravan screen to settle a new like settlement, but I don't think that feature is implemented yet because if you click on it or if you hover over it, it's like you cannot have more than one settlement. So I don't know if you have to like pack up your settlement and abandon it before you can do it, or if it's just not a feature that they've added yet to have multiple settlements. Either way though, RimWorld's really good. I like it. I want to play it more, but my time's being eaten up with Overlord, and I refuse to stop streaming it because I've done that with other games, and I really like Overlord. I know if I stop, I'll stop good.
You should probably just get a bulletin of things. Have a number of things that you play. I thought you were talking about maybe changing up your schedule so you stream specific games at on specific days.
I haven't done it yet. I've been busy with work and stuff, so.
Okay, well, that's fine.
So it's easier to just kind of stream what I want.
Are there any games you want to talk about before we move on?
I think that's about
Either
it.
of you?
I could say I ain't played nothing.
Hearthstone. The dungeons are really great. They feel like a
Hearthstone,
a true roguelike, right? Basically the way that it works is you fight the first enemy with a deck of like 6 cards that's basically built to make sure you win against your first enemy. You know, just because I've put enough time into Hearthstone that I understand a basis of how to win against PvP enemies, I can see that these decks are designed to be like one of the things you want to do in Hearthstone is play on your mana curve. So on turn 1, ideally you play one mana card. On turn 2, you play two mana worth of cards. Turn 3, it's 3 mana worth of cards. And if you don't play all of your mana, then you're basically like, you never get it back. You're basically wasting parts of your turn. And the decks that they give you at the very beginning is designed to basically give you cards that will keep you playing on mana curve.
So how do the dungeons work? Is it similar to something like End of Fate? I totally don't understand. I haven't looked at it at all.
So what you do, you fight like your first enemy. It'll be like either a giant rat or like a dragon whelp or some, a normal RPG first enemy. And then it's basically, it is just a Hearthstone game. You just play a game of Hearthstone against the enemy. But instead of having like a PvP enemy, like obviously in PvP your enemy's going to be like another one of the 9 classes in the game. But with the dungeons, the enemies have like extra strong like hero powers. So each class in the game has a hero power that usually like warlocks can deal 2 damage to themselves and draw a card. Mages can spend 2 mana to do 1 damage to an enemy. Stuff like that. And all of them have, all the heroes have a thing that basically revolves around 2 HP. Like, summon a card with 2 HP, deal 2 damage to yourself. Well, the hero powers in the dungeon, the hero powers that the enemies get in the dungeons are things that, like, their deck is built completely around. And so, you're basically playing normal games of Hearthstone, but you have to, like, see what your enemy's strategy is going to be based on what enemy you draw. So when you beat an enemy...
You ever played the game Solitarica?
No.
It's a mobile game that's kind of like a deck builder. Sounds similar to that. It's sort of roguelike in the sense that if you ever lose, then you have to start over from the beginning. But
okay. And
sounds similar.
Yeah. So what my favorite part about the dungeons is the deck building aspect, right? So when you beat your first enemy, you get like a legendary artifact. You get the choice of 3. And that might be something like all of your cards with battle cries in the card text, the battle cry goes off twice. So like say you play a card with a battle cry that's summon a strong monster or something. Then you play that and you have that artifact, it's just passive, it always goes off no matter what. Then you summon 2 of those strong monsters instead of 1. Or maybe you'll just get an artifact that lets you start with 2 extra cards in your hand. Or there's one that lets you start with an extra mana crystal to get to your bigger cards faster. So what you choose for that very first item basically determines how you're going to build your deck. So if you take the battle cry thing, you're going to try to go for cards with battle cries.
Well, that sounds kind of interesting, but
it is.
I mean, I'm not interested in Hearthstone, so. I don't think that anything that you've kind of talked about this is like a reason for me to be interested in Hearthstone at this point. So, I don't know.
Yeah. You know.
Well, why don't we move into news next?
That's a good idea.
Which news do we want to start with?
Why don't we start with movie news since there's a little bit less of it?
It's kind of crazy that there's a little bit less because there's a bunch of movie news. Starting off from some of the the one singular piece of news that we didn't get to last week. And this was a little bit added on to. Basically, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. Basically, what happened is that Bryan Singer, who was the director of the X-Men movies, was kicked off of the Queen biopic because he was really, really sick and feeling kind of bad, and you know, stuff like that, and he was constantly not there. And I think we did talk about a little bit last week, but also, he is the next victim in the grand culling of Hollywood.
Right.
He was accused of raping a 17-year-old boy. So yeah, I mean,
hey.
Yay! We got more Hollywood people dying. The justice comes to them. Justice comes.
Well,
the next thing,
yeah, I don't know,
is the most horrible thing I've heard in probably all of the news that we've done this. Well, okay, the most horrible movie idea I've heard. Renowned trash garbage piece of shit hack man Damien Lindelof, who I hate, is going to be rebooting Watchmen and making a Watchmen television series. Alan Moore came back from his grave to go strangle this man. Alan Moore isn't even dead. That's just where he sleeps.
Isn't Alan Moore working on something right now too?
Working on his wizard practice and hating everything. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't think that he's been doing anything. I think that he gave up on everything a long time ago and is just a bitter man who tried to make the comic books industry something of value but couldn't. Damien Lindelof, who is famed for such movies as Cowboys vs. Aliens and such blunders as the ending of Lost, is making Watchmen, and this is the worst. This is the worst person to give it to. Even if he does have like a complete like thing of way that he could do it, Watchmen still will not have an ending. Dalsson had a lot of problems with the Watchmen movie, seeing as they changed it, but I feel like that'll be better than nothing. Anyway, moving on. Justice League did not make nearly as much money as the other DC films. So we actually talked about this a little bit during the Justice League thing. What DC is saying is they are going to shake everything up, which they might use the Flashpoint paradox to do that. Now that Saine pointed that out, that's actually a really good point.
If not, they might just rush through it and just be like, oh well, gone. Like I don't know. And this is kind of funny. I kind of called this before Wonder Woman came out, that Wonder Woman's going to be the only good
you
DC
straight up
movies,
did.
like out of all of it, and they're going to end up rebooting it because of it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I saw the trailers for Wonder Woman and was sitting there like, this is going to be trash too. This one's going to be trash too. I watched it and I was pleasantly surprised.
I heard buzz about it beforehand, that it was shaping up to be good, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
And that it was kind of hands off from, because it's Wonder Woman, so it was sort of hands off about like studio side of it. So I was hearing kind of good things about Wonder Woman going into it. So,
but the thing is, that kind of buzz, that's all like you're not allowed to say anything about your movie before it comes out. It's in the contract. A lot of people were saying, like, when Batman vs Superman were coming out, specifically like the guy who played Aquaman was famously like, this is gonna blow Marvel out of the water. Marvel better watch out. We're gonna destroy
well, it was notable because
out.
Wonder Woman was released to screenings, like critic screenings, way earlier than all of the other DC movies. So that was one thing. And that is really, really good. Do you know who I heard that they're bringing on to be one of the helm leaders of it?
Who?
Oh, not Chris Claremont, the other one. Very famous comic book writer. Can't think of his name right now.
I mean, if they got someone giving them some direction rather than just
he's really well known.
Yeah. I mean, if they have someone giving them some direction, if they have like someone from DC coming in and giving them some direction of what they should do, and like setting up some sort of plan that they're not like constantly trampling over in a desperate attempt to get more views, then good. Like Kevin Feige, he keeps Marvel pretty on track with the movies. He knows what he wants to do. He's got 22 billion movies planned out. And yeah, he's got a plan. He's got things that he's going to do. He's going to set them all up, and they're all going to pay off at some point in time. Specifically, this most recently is Infinity War. DC doesn't really have that, and if they get that, then I mean that'll probably help.
Yeah.
My biggest fear for the DC universe is that it might start to get good when the real hard hitting superhero fatigue. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's already coming. It's already coming." I don't believe it's actually going to hit until like after Infinity War Part 2. So I think we still got a couple of years before that.
And that kind of leads us into other news about that. In that Disney is buying Fox.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
Or at least there's been a lot of. So there was a lot of rumors and speculation about it happening because Fox wanted to get a chunk of money so that they could further invest into their news and broadcast side. So they're thinking about selling their like movie studio side. At the same time, Disney is talking about putting together a streaming service, so they want a lot more content for that. Yeah. So Disney started having talks with Fox about buying those movie studios and all of their movie rights. But apparently talks had broken down. But because there were the rumors about this and like the suggestion that someone might buy Fox's movie stuff and Disney might be the one, both Disney's and Fox's stock rose. Which is a good sign actually for both of them. So it re-engaged talk about it, and now apparently the conversation about it has been accelerating, so we might hear a deal come out this week about Marvel or Disney actually buying Fox's movie properties. That would mean that all of the rights to X-Men, Mutants, and the Fantastic Four would be transferred to Disney and thus Marvel, right?
Yeah.
So, following Infinity War, they could do their next phase of movies instead of being kind of other sort of B or C tier superheroes. They could instead do X-Men characters, which would be totally different.
Yeah.
Because actually, people don't know this, but most of the Avengers are B team. Yeah. No, are B team characters actually. Yeah. Iron Man and Captain America. Well, maybe not Captain America, but Iron Man and a lot of the other characters on the Avengers, even like the Hulk. Well, I would say Hawkeye and Black Widow are like C tier actually. Yeah. But like Iron Man and even Captain America and Hulk are kind of B tier. And the most popular comic book characters that Marvel's always had has always been the X-Men.
X-Men, yeah.
So,
in fact, a lot of
X-Men, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men are the big Marvel ones.
Right.
And those are all the ones that they don't have.
Yeah.
I think you were the one who told me this a long ass time ago, saying, but they would put Wolverine on comic books that he was not even like a part of because
Wolverine was so popular that he would sell other people's comic books by not even being in that book.
Yeah, just by being on the cover.
Yeah. So right now it's kind of interesting that like at this point in time, all of the Avengers characters are like super A-list superheroes because those movies have been so successful that those characters have jumped in popularity. A lot of people might not have known about Thor's the comic book version of Thor in Marvel Universe. But
that was the other thing. That's another one. Thor is like, who the fuck is Thor?
But right. because of the Avengers, Thor is super popular, and Chris Hemsworth is like totally doubled his net worth. He is like a super popular actor now.
Yeah.
Because of that, yeah.
And them getting the X-Men back into the Fox universe or back into the Marvel universe opens up so many doors for Marvel. And they could go, never mind, we're not making a Miss Marvel anymore, who by the way was a mutant. They might just go into X-Men now.
Yeah.
So that would be cool.
And like I wonder like what this really makes me wonder is how are they going to fix the thing that happened with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, where they were Russian experiment children instead of Magneto's mutant children. Like, are they
don't have to? They don't have to. They don't have to because Magneto. Their kids were taken from Magneto. He didn't raise Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver. He found out later that they were related.
But they explained that the origin of their powers was some Russian super experiment.
It was Infinity Stones.
Infinity, whatever. But it was still a Russian experiment.
It doesn't matter necessarily because...
Yeah, fair enough.
I feel like that is a minor thing, or they could just say... Or just the simple, like, retcon idea that that's what they thought. What they actually did was activate their X gene or whatever. Like, they're so easy to retcon that makes sense that it doesn't. It's like not worth talking about, honestly.
That was the only thing that felt like weird in Age of Ultron to me.
Well, and then they called mutants enhanced too, like enhanced individuals, which was always weird because Marvel owned the word or Fox owned the word mutant. So no, like what could end up happening is they could scrap all of the movies they have in phase 4 or whatever phase they're on. They could just scrap them all except for maybe Miss Marvel. They could probably do something with Miss Marvel still, but
a lot of them are already in production though.
Pre-production though, like there's definitely room to scrap a lot of them, I think, at this point in time, because they did things like they announced that they were going to do Inhumans, but they ended up scrapping that and making a series, and saw how that turned out. But
Yeah.
so I think there's plenty of room to like get rid of all of those planned movies and replace them with X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Because they could continue to build their cinematic universe with X-Men characters. There's no reason why they couldn't.
Yeah.
But that means maybe casting a new Wolverine.
Yeah.
That means
and that would be kind of weird, especially after like just recently we had Logan, which
Didn't Hugh Jackman say something about that? Like, even though he said Logan
Hugh Jackman's that said that even though Logan was his last movie, he would consider reprising his role for some sort of crossover in the Marvel universe. But I could not see them actually doing that because if they want to have Wolverine be a character for a period of time, they can't use Hugh Jackman unless it's like they tie the other X-Men movies into the Marvel universe and say that's an alternate reality or something, and then there's a potential 2 different characters who are both Wolverine. Like, that's the only scenario I could see Hugh Jackman Wolverine existing, especially since the events at the end of Logan kind of make it so that he probably wouldn't reprise his role at this point. But what they could end up doing is scrapping all of those other characters, doing Fantastic Four, and then the X-Men.
Fantastic Four too.
They might actually be able to like do something with the Fantastic Four.
Right.
That's good.
And it makes perfect sense because in Avengers or Infinity War, right? At that point, what if they tied the Guardians of the Galaxy to the Fantastic Four? Because they're both the cosmological outer space characters.
Right.
So, that would mean that the Fantastic Four and the Guardians of the Galaxy could cross over and would make sense too. And that could be a way to introduce the Fantastic Four.
It could also be a way to introduce more villains like Silver Surfer and Galactus.
Silver Surfer is not a villain, but yes.
You know what I mean. Silver Surfer is tied to Galactus, so that's why I said them in the same
So
sentence.
Galactus is and Doctor Doom.
And Doctor
Doom being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is really cool, right?
Yes!
Because among notable supervillains in the Marvel Universe, Doctor Doom is like pretty high up on the list of being an interesting villain that they could finally have back. Galactus is more like a force of nature, so he'd be a boring villain kind of. But
yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, but not that has stopped Marvel in the past from using characters like that. But yeah, I don't know. Like they could do a lot with Fantastic Four again. And they could also tie it into Infinity War being like, oh, you guys are the Guardians of the Galaxy. That gives us reasons to create a team of people to send into outer space. Oops, we made the Fantastic Four. Yeah, because that's what happens. That's their origin, basically.
Yeah, they go into space, get hit by the Fantastic
Cosmic
Four. They
something.
go into space, got hit by solar cosmic radiation, and began gaining superpowers.
Exactly.
This man can stretch.
This man is made of rocks.
This guy's always on fire. I'm on fire!
And I can't find the 4th one. Oh, there she is. She was invisible. That's her powers.
So yeah.
There it is, 1950 superheroes.
So yeah, like there's so much that they could do with if this deal goes through and they get X-Men back. And of course this leads to a lot of other stuff like with Fox's movie catalog and Disney's movie catalog, suddenly they have a gigantic movie catalog that they could make into a streaming competitor.
Yeah.
And that would be also cool if you like Disney animated stuff, because it means like you could have a place to watch DuckTales and Starverses and all of that.
Your, Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And binge Gravity Falls again.
Yeah, and Kim Possible and all of those cool Disney things. They could have a large Disney cartoon catalog in addition to all the other stuff. So they could like Disney's really like if this deal goes through, Disney would have a huge catalog of stuff to create a thing. It wouldn't just be like, a fuck ton of Marvel movies and then a bunch of animated movies. It would be those and Alien, Predator, Miss Doubtfire, I think is one. Like a bunch of like really well-known movies
Fox
in Fox's catalog.
A ton of stuff, which makes it weird that Fox is even considering this, because Fox, like, I mean, they really built on that stuff. They really Fox Pictures, they work hard to get where they are.
Yeah,
they worked hard. And
but I don't know, and it's not to say that they couldn't just be like 20th Century Fox owned by Disney, right?
Wait,
but
I just realized that. I just realized something. One of the things that a lot of people really noticed about the new Star Wars movie is that it was really weird hearing the Star Wars theme playing and seeing the Galaxy Far, Far Away thing without hearing the Fox logo before it. And Disney could put it there.
What else is funny too is Disney owns the rights to all of the Star Wars movies except for one.
Yeah.
And that is Star Wars Episode 4 and A New Hope. That is the first Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Because Fox co-produced it. So if they bought Fox, they would have all of Star Wars again. They would fully actually have 100% of Star Wars now. Instead of the weird deal between Fox and Lucasfilm, which Lucas came from Disney, but there's now the only film they don't actually own all of the rights for is the first Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Which would mean Disney could do something like create a boxed set of the series and re-release movies in theatrical cuts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They would have the rights to do that now.
Yeah.
Which before part of the reason why that hasn't happened is because Fox owns the rights to one of them.
Yeah.
So
and you like you said, the weird deal. It just like I don't know, the way that you said that and just saying it like that really does sort of put into perspective for me how fucking weird all of this stuff is. Like if you were to like go back,
well, it's like one of the top 5 movie studios is buying one of the other top 5 movie studios. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not only just not even just that, but if you would have gone back like to the year 2002, and you would have told me that in the year 2017, Marvel is going to have like a bunch of movies released, but they can't release any of the X-Men movies because all of those are owned by a different studio. And also Sony owns Spider-Man. So there are 3 different studios owning all of Marvel properties. So there are like 3 different cinematic universes going on at one time. People would just say, what the fuck are you... How much cocaine have you taken, my man? This is crazy. Are you serious? What the hell are you talking about? And that's the reality we're living in today. Hollywood is such a beautiful, interesting, entertaining mess. It's almost more fun to watch Hollywood studios scramble than to go and watch their movies.
Disney would also own The Exorcist, the Die Hard series.
Oh yeah.
They would own the Alien series. I said that already. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They would own.
I forgot that was Fox.
They would own Big. Pretty much a lot of what's his face's movies.
Adam Sandler.
No, Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Robin Williams. Big. I was thinking the other one. Big Daddy.
Oh
Big
god.
Daddy.
Yeah,
that was one of the better Sandler movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like again, in the 80s and the 90s, well, basically since the 80s, maybe they've been a little bit lax this last decade. But since the 80s, Fox has released a ton of movies and gotten like really, 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 really big. And it's crazy that they'd want to sell all of this. It's crazy that this would even happen. And it's crazy, of course, Disney's going to want to buy it because they want to be the very best big king of everything.
I think it's less that Fox wants to sell and more that Disney wants to buy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Fox is thinking about selling because they do want money to invest into their news and broadcast side.
Yeah.
But and I guess Fox would still own like the Fox News channels and the sports stuff. They would own all the sports stuff still. They would own the broadcast channel Fox still.
Yeah, and probably FX too, so yeah.
No, FX would probably go to
FX
Disney.
is
All the
movies.
cable stuff would probably go to Disney.
Yeah.
Only the actual
Like the
broadcast channel
stuff would stay. Yeah.
Right.
Oh boy. Yeah. That's crazy.
And that has more to do with news than anything else, but
also have a lot of game news to talk about, so
yeah, let's move
on
along.
from this topic.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. There's a little bit more to talk about in movies. Just a little bit. This isn't really a movie-related thing, so, but I'm gonna talk about it because this is like, I mean, I don't know how to categorize this. Vine's coming back, maybe. The dude who made Vine, put up a teaser for V2. Because, when Vine died, everyone was sad. So they're bringing it back so that everyone will be happy.
Okay, moving on.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Quentin Tarantino wants to direct a Star Trek movie. He's been talking about this with, which studio owns it?
Well, he was talking to the guy who did the other ones. Abrams, because Abrams is basically in control of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I just remembered something though. I know this is kind of weird.
Okay.
So if Disney bought Fox,
yes,
do you know what else they would own? They would own the show Gotham.
Oh,
so they would have some TV rights to Batman.
And then the people that own Marvel also own Batman, but only on TV, on the movies. Dude, what the hell are you talking about?
But that being said, DC might be, or Warner Brothers and DC might be able to just cancel that contract.
Jump into the deal. And
but that'd be
hey,
funny.
We want Batman.
Hey, give us Batman back.
We want child Batman. Give us the baby cat girl. Come on. All right. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino has been, and this is like been an ongoing thing. And this is just a little bit more news about this. I don't think I actually talked about this at any point. He's been talking about making a new Star Trek movie. And this says like basically Quentin Tarantino's new Star Trek movie would be R-rated. This is weird as hell to me.
And some sort of spin-off too.
Like, I can imagine it in my head.
He would not be the writer though. Actually, they put together a writer room, and one of the main writers that look like is going to be tapped for it is the guy who wrote Revenant, which is that like American Indian movie starring
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio.
I know that one.
So, and that one was lauded as being really well written. So, could you imagine Tarantino directs a movie written by the guy who wrote Revenant, and it's Star Trek? Like,
I had this picture in my head before you said he wasn't writing it, where like this picture of the Next Generation, where like Riker is sitting there commanding the Enterprise, and he's in a battle with fucking like opening in the movie. He's in a battle with Borg Picard, and then Riker's like, I bet you're wondering how this happened. And then the rest of the Next Generation plays.
I can't imagine what this would be like at all.
I feel like nobody can. I feel like all of the conversation I've heard around this topic has just been, what would that be like?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's what I want to do with Star Trek. And unfortunately, this isn't good. What I want to do is I want to kidnap Denis Villeneuve. I want to say, hold up. You can keep working on Dune later, but right now, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know you're scared. Yeah, no, I'll take off the ball gag later. Anyway, right now, I need you to make Star Trek. I need you to make Star Trek right now. I need you to take it from everyone else. Mr. Villeneuve, make Star Trek.
So I think what kind of happened with this, from what I was hearing, is that Tarantino approached Abrams with a pitch.
Yeah.
And Abrams liked it so much that he decided to set up a writer's room for him. That's why all this is happening.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's crazy to me. I don't know what even the hell. This is I don't know what Star Trek is anymore. When Quentin Tarantino walking up and wanting to direct this stuff.
Better than Star Trek 2.
Sure. Oh, fucking! It's probably going to be a fine movie.
Oh,
Quentin Tarantino is good at making good movies. He almost does it effortlessly. He's very good
speaking of FX, it looks like FX is talking about making a Night Vale
series
based on the old serialized podcast.
Oh my fucking god, that's it. That's just incredible.
I'm a huge fan of the Night Vale podcast. I kind of love it. It's definitely my thing.
Night Vale it is Night
yes,
Vale.
it is Night Vale. Yes.
No, I just don't know if it had a G in it.
Oh, okay. It's a very interesting podcast. It gets very, very weird.
So I've held off of listening to the Night Vale podcast.
Yeah.
And like I've never really been interested in going after it, but making a series based off of it seems a lot more interesting to me.
I don't know the way the Night Vale sort of works. I almost feel precludes the series. Like there is definitely like a bunch of things that in Night Vale that are like running plots. For a while there was the whole mayoral elections thing with the the lady that lives in your house running, the previous mayor stepping down, and then like some sort of unseen horror. And I feel like the way that it works as a radio play because they can describe these things that are like things that you cannot comprehend,
like a Lovecraft type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They work
like
better as
putting
books
it in
because you're not supposed to be able to visualize
see it. Yeah,
exactly.
And putting it into like a visual medium, I feel like doesn't work as well. And not only that, but like putting it in like a television show with a plot. Also, I feel like
I would agree with you, but I think that you can get away with it as long as you don't reveal exactly what things look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if they're killed by things that they don't see and they never actually fully show on screen, then they can get away with it. Like, they can have, messed up pictures of it and stuff, but...
Well, and that's the thing. It's supposed to... They're not even, like, being killed by it. It's just, like, the entire town is just this weird sort of unseen...
I've only listened to a little bit of it, but, it like... The format of it is basically a news radio about the stuff going on in this town, and everything is totally framed like, this is how it is, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal.
Well, I don't know. At the same time, the same could be said about War of the Worlds, which has been adapted dozens of times.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's impossible to do it well.
But yeah, and I don't think it's impossible to do it well. Absolutely. In fact, if you gave David Lynch Night Vale, he would do something fantastic with it. Problem is, this is an FX series, so I don't know what they're gonna do.
FX has Fargo and Legion.
Oh fuck, Disney! No, Disney would not own Fargo. Yeah, and that is true. It does have Legion, which is
so I feel like they're willing to take risks like this, and I feel like the current state of cable television is like asking for something like this to be by someone like David Lynch, right?
Well,
that only makes sense.
And that is true, but I don't know. Just because of the fact that it is an adaptation, I almost feel like I'm not super sure. They probably just go to a lot of the stuff that they talked about in Night Vale. But what I mean, like, is if it were like a visual art project, then it would probably work really well.
I guess
I don't think that's the direction they're going to go with.
I feel like this is a situation where we'll just definitely have to wait and see, because I would have maybe said the same thing about Legion up until Legion came out.
Yeah.
So, like the idea of someone adapting Legion to a series sounds like how, you know. Yeah. So and what they did with it was really great. I really
didn't watch
loved
Legion at all, but I want to clarify again. Legion is the X-Man. Legion, who's like 1 million people, right?
No, that's multiple man. Legion.
No. Who like is 1 million people in one body.
Yes.
Okay.
But this version of Legion isn't to that extent. But yes.
Yeah.
More or less.
Okay.
It is that character, but the way that they treat the character is slightly different.
Okay. But that's the character anyway. Yeah. So.
And so it's like, how are you supposed to adapt that? And they did a really good job. So I don't know. I actually like FX as a television studio right now.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff. They're putting.
And I feel like I would trust FX to do it more so than a lot of other things. So
yeah,
fair enough.
It might not be too bad. They might be able to do something interesting. I'm just gonna combine these two. A Sony animated picture Spider-Man movie is in the works. It just got a trailer recently, And James Cameron is finally doing Battle Angel Altea. Finally, after he's talked about this for years. He talked about this back when he was making Avatar. And it was like almost a like a April Fool's joke, but he's finally doing it. And everyone, of course, is talking about how he CGI widened this lady's eyes to make it look more like an anime. Silly.
Dude, this Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse teaser, though?
Yeah, it looks really good.
It does look really good. It's
looks
Miles
really
Morales,
weird.
right?
Oh, yeah, that one is Miles Morales. Not to say that that's definitely what happened. But Into the Spider-Verse is this series where they cross over every alternate version of Spider-Man ever into a major overarching story where they fight things that eat the concept of spiders. It's kind of hard to explain, but
yeah. But yeah,
even though it stars Miles Morales, there is a lot of Spider-Mans in that. Yeah. So, including that is the origin of Spider-Gwen.
Oh yeah.
So Spider-Gwen comes out of the Spider-Verse series of stuff. So actually, I'm super interested in that. It's coming out next year in 2018.
Yeah, and visually it looks great.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. I did look at that trailer.
It reminds me of Captain Underpants.
Yeah. And that's about all we have for movie stories. I got another thing in here, but that's like something that I can talk about a little bit when the Oscars roll around. What
is Attica Blade Angel?
Okay. It is a manga that James Cameron has been a huge fan of. It was a huge manga in the 80s. It got super popular, just goddamn everywhere. And James Cameron has been a huge fan, and he's talked about doing a movie about this for like years and years and years. And now studios finally are. Yeah.
ALITA.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he finally was able to get it done. Is finally able to produce it and have someone else direct it. Yeah, originally he was going to direct it himself, but he's working on the Avatar cinematic universe, so he's a busy man, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you know.
Oh, how I read that Attica though.
It looks weird.
He does have really weird looking eyes.
Yeah, is that?
She's like the only character who looks like that.
Yeah, is that a human character with CG big eyes, or is it pure CG?
No, it's a human actress with CG big eyes.
Yeah. No, yeah, not a human character, but the person playing it.
I feel like this is the kind of movie that will not age well. Just looking at this trailer, like I'm seeing one of the characters is like has a Terminator body. Does not look like it'll age well.
Yeah,
like at all. But it might be fun when it comes out. But in a few years, it's gonna be like, oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah.
So let's move into gaming news, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Should we just start from the top?
Yeah. What? Okay. Actually,
which top?
Yeah.
Top. Would be
Bayonetta, right?
Bayonetta 3.
Oh yeah.
Which was an announcement at the Game Awards.
Yes, which we'll get into a little later.
Maybe.
So Bayonetta 3. I've always liked Bayonetta. I played the first one when it came out on the PlayStation 3, somebody else's house. And I played the whole goddamn game in a weekend. And man, I love Bayonetta. Was so happy when Bayonetta 2 came to the Wii U. And now Nintendo's making Bayonetta 3 as a Switch exclusive.
When they announced this, it was kind of funny because
gonna be great.
When they announced it, it was kind of funny because Reggie Fils-Aimé went to the stage.
Oh, good.
And was talking about them porting over Bayonetta 1 and 2. And then he was like, but you didn't think Nintendo would just announce one thing, did you? And then he's like, here's my one more thing moment. And he announces Bayonetta 2. Or then they go to the trailer of Bayonetta 3. Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
And everybody's screaming.
Yeah.
That's good. And yeah, that's the other thing. They're also porting Bayonetta 1 and 2 to Switch, which will be great. And we've said it a million times, the Switch is a great console because of the fact that it's a home console and has portability options.
I don't think I would ever play a Bayonetta game portable, though, but...
Yeah.
Although I'm not one who really plays the Switch portably at all for some reason. It's just
Fair
a
enough.
little bit too big. Like enjoy doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I like playing it in handheld mode, but not when I'm at home. Obviously, like I play it in handheld mode just because I'm at work all the time.
Let's talk about Battlefront.
Again,
well, even more.
Battlefront 2 apparently sold very poorly.
Yay!
Based on sales charts from the United Kingdom, which is how we kind of have to do a lot of it because it's hard to that Sony and PlayStation don't release digital sales.
right?
But so Battlefront 1 when it came out has already done better than it physically, but also we later learned that Battlefront 2 did more in physical sales than digital sales initially. In this case, if that same ratio were to be true, or even if you edged it a little bit more in the side of retail or digital, it still did not perform very well at all for that game. Do we have an actual figure for it?
It's not very surprising, really.
So Star Wars Battlefront 2 sold 882,000 units, which is well below the estimate of 1,720,000 units. So they were off by about a million.
Yeah, you know. Oof. Oh.
And
that's beautiful.
I guarantee you it's not because the game itself sucks. It's because of all the controversy surrounding the game. People just didn't want to buy it.
Well, no, that's definitely
that's
why, right? Controversy is why, but the controversy is also because the game was bad. Like ultimately, the progression dragged, like the way that the progression system and the loot boxes were set up in the first place dragged people down so much that they didn't want to play it.
Yeah,
right.
So, and it's kind of telling that since the game's come out and they don't have paid loot boxes in it at all, they keep increasing the rewards over and over again so that it's less grindy, because right now you can't buy loot boxes and the people who are playing it without them are complaining about it being grindy, so they keep on increasing the rate at which you unlock stuff in the game in lieu of there being loot boxes. The whole thing is just a mess.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of
which is good.
Because people say, like, oh, if you don't like loot boxes, vote with your wallet and don't buy the loot boxes, right? But if you buy the game that contains the loot boxes in the first place, they're already making their money back. Like, if it sells enough.
Right.
So, and the loot boxes are just like extra padding for their money castle. Maybe they build a new wing. So
yeah, it creates the unlimited amount.
Yeah.
In the back end.
The fact that this loot boxy game, because of how egregious the loot boxes were, also sold like shit, is just great.
There is also a petition for Lucasfilm to revoke EA's Star Wars license. Right now it has 164,000 of the 200,000 required. So it's almost that.
But that petition is it's still just a petition.
It's a petition. But if there are 200,000 people who are asking Disney to revoke EA's license, Disney might listen.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
It won't force change, that's true, but it's definitely something that like
is a force change?
Oh, what? Oh my god, you guys are so stupid.
That was good. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Here's the petition.
Yeah. But yeah, I honestly feel like the horrible backlash of EA's thing, Disney is fucking looking at EA with a goddamn stink eye. It's like, you guys fucked up.
Oh yeah,
you guys can't do that.
They already were looking at this as a PR nightmare for them.
Yeah.
Especially right before their movie comes out. This was supposed to be the movie that capitalizes on that.
Yeah, they even had a tie-in in the game basically when it came out for the new movies. Just like, oh.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's gonna go. I don't think Disney thinks this either. I don't think anyone's gonna go. I ain't gonna go see that new Star Wars movie because EA is a piece of shit and I hate the game. But yeah, this is something.
Well, they might go, I'm not gonna buy the game because this game is terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone is telling me this game is terrible. It's bad when financial industries is talking about this, about how it's hurting EA's stock. That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so much buzz about this thing that Disney might revoke their license, and I think that would be preferable for me, because having EA have an exclusive license to Star Wars games sucks.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I feel like
Star Wars games before EA had it were like almost all good.
Well, EA has had an exclusive license basically forever.
Time. Yeah.
Really?
Knights of the Old Republic is an EA game.
Is it really?
Yeah, BioWare, remember?
Republic Commando is an EA game. The original set of Battlefront games were EA games. Like, EA has gotten worse as a company, which is why this is bad. But they have had an exclusive license to Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
You know
So,
what? They sure have. Yeah.
You know what? I feel like the best outcome for all of this is that, and this is just a purely hypothetical. This ain't gonna happen because there's no reason for this to happen. Is if Disney were to just buy EA and then shut the company down immediately and then laugh.
They wouldn't.
Yeah, of course they wouldn't.
And in fact, Disney tries really hard to not produce anything itself in terms of video games. They really don't like making video games. They want to license everything away because they do not feel confident. That's why they closed Lucasfilm's games. Yeah. Is that studio that Lucasfilms was. Yeah. Because they just don't want to do that. And because I think they got really burned with Epic Mickey. Yeah. And ever since then, they just don't want to be bothered.
That kind of sucks, because I actually liked Epic Mickey. But
I mean, yeah, and they made a second one, but it didn't do well.
Yeah, exactly.
And the camera was bad. But
yeah.
I like, the only thing I remember about Epic Mickey is the name, and I was just reminded that they made a second one.
So, let's move on to Monster Hunter.
Oh, boy. I don't have a long time to talk about this one, but I have some things to say that are great. Monster Hunter Worlds is going to be adding new monsters in post-launch updates, which you might sound, oh, whatever, who cares? Well, if they have a continued development cycle for Monster Hunter Worlds, that means that eventually, theoretically, all monsters from all installments of the game will be in it. Which is not something that any Monster Hunter has ever had before. There's always some missing monsters that you want to that you would want to fight. Additionally, that means that they can continue to develop Worlds as a platform instead of releasing Monster Hunter Worlds 2.
And that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was going to say. It feels like the way that this game has been presented, it always seemed like it was going to be a platform rather than like one game. Because, I mean, the name, it's not a numbered name. It's Monster Hunter Worlds. It's the first one that's going to be on PC and on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah. Xbox 2.
It's definitely the first one on Xbox. PlayStation had it, then it went to Nintendo, then it went back to Sony.
It seems like the way that they've been setting up this game in general has been like a platform game. So this having post-launch content that is like patches seems like it is the logical step.
Now, in the past, I believe with Monster Hunter 4, they did do similar things. They added a lot of content to Monster Hunter 4 after it came out, but only in the form of like new armor sets, new weapons, that they would give you new quests to do, but these new quests were event quests which you could do, but you would just be fighting the same old monsters. And really the quests were there for the sake of getting tickets to build that new armor. Whereas with this, if they release a new monster, they basically have to release new weapons and new armor to go with the monster. So like it just seems like every update to this game is possibly massive. Every time they release a new monster, at the very least, right?
Potentially.
Yeah. So,
I mean, they could also like
love monsters.
They could also have monsters that just dump basic stuff too. Like they would have a lot of room to do stuff.
They wouldn't. It's not how Monster Hunter like is. If
but
they release
adding monsters post game is not something that Monster Hunter does either.
It's true, but like if they added a new monster, they couldn't have it just drop basic stuff because there'd be no reason to fight it.
No, but what I'm saying is they could add big monsters and just fill out the game with more. Well,
okay,
I wasn't necessarily saying that they wouldn't add armor sets, but they could add other monsters too for other purposes.
Yeah, like little Apanoths or like around the world.
So that's cool.
That's great. Super hyped for it. If you own a PlayStation 4, I think you can play the demo still. No, by the time the recording is out, the demo will be gone. But over this last weekend, a lot of people have been streaming it and stuff, and the demo just looks fantastic. It looks so incredible, and it looks like a true Monster Hunter experience. The only thing I really have a problem with is the showing damage numbers, which they've never done before, and the whole point was to gauge how hurt a monster was based on how the monster was acting. But there is no like monster health bar or anything, so those damage numbers could just be meaningless. I haven't actually tried.
I feel like damage numbers have always been like a quality of life thing for people playing it more so than anything else, because then it tells you if you try a different weapon, you can tell if it is or not.
Right. So like unless
I feel like that's just like
I know that
kind of an really... MMOing of it a little bit.
Yeah. I know that really soon somebody will be somebody will solve how much health exactly each monster has, so you'll have to, but that would still be a pain in the ass to like count every 34 damage that you're doing up to like 6,000. So
and you would have to find a weapon that specifically does only like a specific amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I guess you could like fight it and then on a recording and then go through and just add up all of the numbers too. But either way, yeah, it would be work. It wouldn't be super fast either way.
Yeah.
And you always already had a sense of which monsters had more health anyway, so it would just be putting a specific number to it, if nothing else.
Yeah, like once you fought a monster a few times, you would know, okay, well, 12 level 3 charges with my greatsword is gonna kick this guy's ass. So
yeah,
same deal basically.
Right. Moving on. So Destiny 2's Curse of Osiris DLC is out, and it locks certain endgame content for vanilla Destiny 2 players. What are you doing, Bungie?
Yeah.
Fixing it, apparently.
So some of the things
during the time of this, well,
yeah, I'll get to that, but
yes.
And actually, it doesn't fix everything. So some of the things that they changed was prestige version of Nightfall Strikes and certain Nightfall Strikes became unplayable for vanilla Destiny owners. Content that they had before Curse of Osiris came out.
But it wasn't an intentional, like, you now just can't do it. It was because of the power, right?
Well, what it was, no, because what they did was they increased the power cap, but they also increased the minimum values for the minimum power values that you need to get into stuff above the level of vanilla Destiny. So it's like, like you can say that it was unintentional, but
I don't think it was unintentional.
But it's obvious that what they were doing locked the content. Like, there's no way to believe that they did this on accident.
No, yeah, it was intentional for sure, but it wasn't just a straight lockout, like, purchase Curse of Osiris to play this content now. It was purchase Curse of Osiris to get strong enough to get into content.
Yeah, but I don't think that...
Contextually,
who cares? That doesn't mean anything. Like...
No, I'm not arguing for them. I'm just saying, like,
But that's the difference. The difference between that is like telling you you're screwing them over, or making it you think for a second about how they're screwing you over. I don't know. Like, it's just it's really frustrating to me because this game on PC, this game hasn't even been out that long.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to run Nightfalls. Like,
now
I can't. So since then, Bungie put out a statement about some of the things that they were changing. Some of their statement is, with the Curse of Osiris now live, it's clear that we made some mistakes with how we have handled content access. Our team overlooked the fact that both of these mistakes disable trophies and achievements for Destiny 2. So one of the things they did was, because of how the DLC worked, it made it so that previous trophies that you got couldn't be earned anymore. Or could earn. So one of the things was like, you can't platinum on PlayStation. You can't platinum Destiny 2 because one of the things you needed to do was run one of these strikes.
Right.
So rather than changing it so that you can do that now, they changed the requirements for the trophy.
What?
So yeah. Prestige versions of the Leviathan raid and the weekly Nightfall strike on the player versus player environment, and Trial of the Nine and Iron Banner in the players versus player Crucible, all of those activities were blocked behind this new content, this new DLC.
You can't get to Trials of the Nine? That's like the shit people want to do in PvP.
At endgame, yes.
The shit.
So they said its reasoning was it wanted to, its goal was to raise the power level required for existing prestige activities, because doing so would keep that content relevant to players. Which was a long-standing gripe with Destiny 1. When they released new expansions, they didn't update older like raids or whatever.
That sounds reasonable if people had gripes with it in the first game and it didn't come out of nowhere.
But why not add a difficulty that's like Curse of Osiris difficulty or something? Like, why did they have to lock old, like, content, the old ones? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
With the Crucible, they said they want the Trials and Iron Banner to evolve over time, and they wanted to shift the content to a seasonal content model with new rewards available every so often. But even something like what's it called? The one of the companies to really talk about doing seasons has been Rainbow Six Siege, but they never, like, they added new characters that you could get right away by purchasing the DLC, but you could still earn it in game.
You could still have
and still play with those people.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't locked out of anything by not buying DLC, not buying the new content patch. So I just, like, with the series of mistakes that Bungie has been making, it just seems like really bad to do this now.
Yeah.
To think about this now, to have this oversight now.
Yeah.
You're basically punishing a bunch of players who, like Bungie was kind of telling you to do, take your time with the game and put it down and pick it up every so often. Now it's like punishing those players who haven't sunk hundreds of hours into Destiny in the short time that it's been on the PC version for sure. So,
right.
I don't know.
It's still, from the sounds of it, it's only the prestige versions. So you can still access Nightfalls. You're still able to do that content from it, like, to play through it. You just can't play the top tier of that.
Yeah, but so that is still that's still the majority of the end game content for vanilla Destiny, though.
Right.
Like, you could still do the Nightfall, but before you could do the Prestige Nightfall for that, and now you can't do the Prestige Nightfall for that.
Think about it. Think about, like, another MMO. Let's take World of Warcraft, because it's the MMO. If you don't buy the new expansion, you can no longer do the end-game content. And
yeah, but not the end-game content you had access to before, though. You could,
Yeah,
if
even
you
if no
had
one's-
if you had Wrath of the Lich King, you could do all the end game content for Wrath of the Lich King. You just couldn't do it for Mists of Pandaria or whatever.
Right.
It
But-
was available to you.
Right. You still couldn't. It was available to you, but
But if you collected enough people
Technically,
to
you
do that
couldn't
raid,
do
you
it.
could do it.
Yeah.
true.
If you had
that's
it,
the
like,
thing.
and there are guilds in World of Warcraft that do classic raids.
Classic raiding by turning off their experience, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
like, it's one thing to add new stuff and lock that stuff behind a like DLC pay gate. That's one
Right.
thing. Revoking access to endgame content for vanilla people is messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the real difference here is. And
Right.
coming right after this thing where Destiny, through omission or whatever, was essentially lying to players is very, like, that's a
It's, like,
black eye.
extra bad, yeah.
Like, come on. So they need to
They-
get their stuff together.
They should have. Yeah. Should have. Should have
And
thought about that.
it sucks because it makes me want to play Destiny even less.
Every time
Yeah.
we talk about it, I want to play it, but
Every time I
That's
talk
the
about it, I
only
want to
thing.
play it less. Like, that's the sad thing.
yeah.
I don't know. So loot boxes.
Here we go.
boy,
This is gonna be
again.
short because there's not a lot here, but I think it's a congressman in Hawaii was talking
Uh-huh.
about putting forth legislation to tie any random chance based on payment to being 21 in order to access that, which would make a bunch of games essentially suddenly be adults only. Unless they changed it. So that would also include things like Overwatch, like paying for loot boxes would give you access to skins, or the boxes that could open skins. But what it would essentially do is make it untenable business wise to, make a game have loot boxes in it at all, essentially.
because then it would be adults only, and people couldn't distribute it.
Right. And
reasonably.
even if only 2 or 3 states did similar legislation, that would essentially force companies to change their business models because they wouldn't want to neglect it only in a couple states if they wanted to sell one product. So,
Right.
I don't know how much I like that because I would prefer the not to be regulation in this field, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it's hard to argue that, tying random chance to payment models is, like, ultimately bad, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or negative, I guess. The only thing is, like, in Overwatch, they would have to change it so maybe you still earned loot boxes from leveling up, but if you wanted
You
any
buy
one
box
thing
skins,
specifically,
yeah.
you couldn't buy loot boxes, but you could direct purchase skins or something.
Right.
Might raise the price of skins. Well, I don't know if it would even raise the price of skins because you can't actually buy them. But yeah, I don't know.
My biggest takeaway from all this is that probably all of the gaming companies, all of them, every single one, is just going to be like, God fucking damn it, EA, you piece
Yeah,
of shit.
that's
you had to
ultimately
fuck
what's
this up for
happening.
all of
It's
us."
Yeah,
EA's
basically.
fault. It's only EA. Like EA
Well,
did it so egregiously.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, well,
That-
But people have forgotten. Have
Yeah.
to stop talking about Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
and they stopped talking about Assassin's Creed, which also did it this year.
Yeah.
Like, you might not even know that Assassin's Creed has loot boxes in it.
I knew that, but I didn't even bother.
Yeah.
We talk so
Well,
much about
again,
loot
but you might
boxes.
not even know. But when it comes to EA, they did it in such a offensive way to people and so obviously poorly implemented that you can't help but think about it.
Like completely lay blame on all of the everything surrounding loot boxes going on right now on EA's massive fuck up. Like,
It would.
Because if
EA
it wasn't
shit
for
the
Star
bed
Wars
here.
Battlefront, if it was just Shadow of War and just Assassin's Creed or whatever, it would be
there
like
wouldn't be fucking
it would be like,
legislation.
well, this sucks, but whatever. I'll just ignore it. I'll either not buy it in game or not buy the game, right?
Yeah, you just be like, all right, I can't wait till the next horrible greedy thing the
Yeah,
game
but
companies
EA
do.
did it in such a bad way when there was already such negative buzz around it that they only caused this for themselves.
See,
The state of Hawaii is trying to stop them.
Game companies have done this forever too. Not like absolutely forever, but think
Push the
about
envelope,
all
yeah.
of the think about all
Yeah.
no loot boxes specifically. Think about all the games that would be affected by this legislation that have been doing it for years. Team Fortress 2 would suddenly be adults only. League of Legends would be adults only.
League of
Dota, like, a
Legends
lot
did
of
it
freedom.
recently though.
They
Yeah.
did. That's true.
So I
League
wouldn't
of
count League of
Legends
Legends. That's recent.
But it was before this thing started.
Yeah, but look, with 1 year, that this all
Right.
happened kind of this year.
Yeah.
With the examples or with the exceptions of Counter-Strike Go and Team Fortress 2. Those are the only ones that
also,
kind of
literally every single mobile game in existence.
Yeah,
would suddenly
that's
be
actually what
classified as
we were
adults
talking
only.
about this outside of the podcast, but this is actually would have way bigger ramifications for the mobile market than anything else.
Yeah.
It could
Every single
essentially cause a gaming crash on iOS.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
And you know what? That'd be just fine with me. Fucking reform.
well, it might make
bitch.
more quality products actually
Yeah,
come to the
exactly.
mobile market, because right now it is impossible to make money on a $5 game or whatever
Yeah.
on iOS,
On
just
mobile.
because there's so much that's free that people will never really want to buy the $5 game unless they already know what it is. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
Speaking of mobile games, if we should move on, Pokemon Go just released a rather massive update.
Oh boy.
The first thing is that they released the remaining Hoenn Pokemon, so all of the Gen 3 Pokemon are now in the game.
and this is the more interesting thing to
And
me
here's
is
the-
they added weather effects to the game, which is super cool
Yeah.
because that means like different Pokemon will spawn when it's raining, or or bright light sunlight, which would probably be all we got here. But
I've played Pokemon Go like since it came out, and I go back to it every once in a while. And one of the things that I found was that always like I'll play it. I walk to work, so I'll play it while I'm walking to work, and I always find like the same 20 Pokemon on that path. Like they're always the same 20 Pokemon spawning over and over and over again. And when I heard about it, I was like, oh shit, I'll take out Pokemon Go today, check out what's up. And it was a sunny day, so there were more grass type Pokemon, fire type Pokemon, and ground type Pokemon appearing. I caught like 6 Pokemon that I'd never seen before because their spawn rate was increased due to the fact that they were different types from the normal types that spawn around me. So that it's another cool thing. Like, it encourages you to do it on different days, kind of, and different like things, which is like ultimately the goal of Pokemon Go, to make you get out there and do stuff over time, I guess. So it's neat.
yeah. So and I try not to talk about Pokemon Go all that much because like adding Pokemon is kind of a minor thing for me, but a huge mechanical change for Pokemon Go seems really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I probably won't go back to it just because I don't have the time to play Pokemon.
Right. Here's one additional thought about the weather change system. Those types that appear more frequently during the weather are also stronger during the weather, so they're more difficult to catch, but it's more likely that you'll find a wondrous Pokemon, which, when you do content in Pokemon Go other than just catching Pokemon and forgetting about them, you basically want to throw away every single Pokemon that isn't a wondrous Pokemon because they're not as strong as everything
I like
else.
a shiny.
Yeah. No, so Pokemon it's essentially Pokemon Go's dumbed down version of EVs or IVs. In the end, it's like you appraise your Pokemon.
How can you tell?
Okay, so when you catch a Pokemon, you can ask your team's professor or whatever to tell you, like, to give you an appraisal. He'll tell you like how big it is compared to other Pokemon. He'll tell you what its strongest stat is, either attack or defense. So if you like go that in depth, you can tell whether to leave it at a gym or whether to attack gyms with it. And then
I'll be right back.
Okay. And then it will also tell you a base power level. Like sometimes my professor will say, overall, this Pokemon is not likely to make much headway in battle. All the way up to
that's
overall,
fine.
This Pokemon's a wonder.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
We don't really need to... I don't need the mechanics of Pokemon Go to be in-depth explained. I was just curious.
Yeah, fair enough.
One of the last things we want to talk about is the Game Awards this year.
Okay.
We started to talk about this last week, but that episode was corrupted, so it's lost and doesn't exist anymore. This week we're gonna just talk about some of the winners, and we don't have too much time left, so we're just gonna kind of run through some of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, speedball through it.
So, Game of the Year this year, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm actually pretty happy with this choice. Because I really like that game. That game is like, straight up, that game is like probably my favorite game ever now. Like,
they had a couple of really good contenders. They had Mario Odyssey, which is one of those things that you would expect to be in Game of the Year, and Persona 5. I'm not counting PlayerUnknown because that game wasn't even released yet.
Well, I mean, it will be released by December 20th, supposedly, so whatever. Like, at this point, it's like early access games may as well just be out now. Because that's when people care about them the most, I think.
Fair, but it's also, like, unfair from an award standpoint because they've always added games to award shows on the year that they officially release. And
sure, but honestly, like... I don't know, like... For instance, this year, in Best RPG, there was Final Fantasy... whatever, 15... whatever the new one is. That was in the RPG category, and that came out December last year.
Yeah.
So technically that one got pushed over, but PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well.
I don't really like that idea, but I'm not gonna... I've come around on the fact that I'm not, like, I don't need to stand on my high horse and say that it shouldn't be on that list, but whatever.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, it won Best Multiplayer, anyway.
Then that I feel is more fair than Game of the Year.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda won Game of the Year. And Best Game Direction. And then I think Best Action Adventure Game is what Zelda did.
Yeah.
What Remains of Edith Finch was Best Narrative, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cuphead got Best Art Direction and Best Debut Indie. Maybe one more thing, but I forget.
Unsurprising to anybody.
Yeah.
Nier Automata won Best Score, which I was a little disappointed with. I thought Persona 5 should win, but, like, I don't know. Nier Automata winning and it's fine.
Yeah. There are much worse scores that could have won.
Yeah, Cuphead was also nominated, which also had good music.
Destiny 2 being nominated for Best Score is very confusing to me because all of the music in that game is just like droning background noise, and it's supposed to be. So it's like it doesn't make any sense.
Or like worse versions of Halo music.
Yeah.
Actually, Destiny 2 was nominated for a bunch of stuff and won nothing.
Yeah.
Well, so is Horizon Zero Dawn, but I think Horizon Zero Dawn was a better game.
It was beat out by Legend of Zelda. It may have won stuff if...
Yeah, if it hadn't gone head-to-head with Zelda, it would have been probably...
Which is pretty much like the story of Horizon Zero Dawn's life. It would have won if it hadn't gone head-to-head with Zelda. Came out on the same day and everything. Same thing happened.
Hellblade won Best Audio Design, Games for Impact, and the lead actress won Best Acting or Best Performance.
Okay. I haven't played Hellblade, but honestly, like the guy who played BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein was nominated for that one, and that's the only thing I could see Wolfenstein 2 winning.
Yeah, but it did win something. I think it won best action game or best something like that.
Which is funny because it was a giant cutscene.
Yeah. So I have Hellblade installed, and I think I might want to do a let's play of it. So I haven't started it yet, but I have that kind of in the docket. Overwatch won best ongoing game, which I feel like I don't even play Warframe, but I feel like it should have gone to Warframe.
I feel like it should have gone to Warframe because recently, every time I look for news to go through on the podcast, I see another article about how great Warframe is and how it's been developed so well. And so all of the game awards, I feel like, or all of the game news outlets are kind of realizing Warframe's development process has been great.
Yeah, but who cares what other people think? I mean, honestly, I don't care what other news sources say. I think that it's undeniable that Warframe has added a lot more content than any of these other games.
I'm not saying that the news sources were intentional, like that is an indicator that Warframe should win. I'm saying that is an indicator that people think that about Warframe, and so I'm surprised that Overwatch won.
But ultimately, there was 55 professionals who voted in some extent, or so. I don't know exactly how that worked, but a majority of voting happened from the general public. Yeah. So and this was just a popularity contest, and people and Overwatch is just hugely more popular. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I completely agree. Warframe should have won, but it's even especially because Overwatch really hasn't. It's added a couple of characters and a couple.
It's added a couple characters and a couple maps, so I think it's done a pretty good job of being an ongoing game. But it doesn't. Yeah. It's not.
And it's the one I've kept coming back to. But that's
compared to the way that Warframe has been developed and expanded.
It shouldn't have won. I definitely agree, and I don't even play Warframe.
Same. And Overwatch also won Best Esports Game, which I also don't really agree with, but...
Yeah, we talked about this, you were saying that, maybe, next year. Maybe next year would make sense, because they're trying...
Because right now, there's a bunch of investments in, leagues and stuff. But none of that really happened this year. All that really happened this year was kind of bad esports stuff.
Yeah, the whole thing was just like a blender almost.
Yeah, it was so hard to pay attention to it and see what's even going on in it because of how it's set up right now. And
hey,
it would just be better. I don't know, maybe next year, but right now I don't think it should have won, but it did.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 won Best VR Game, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm really glad that got some award, because it was really good, but there were so many good games this year that it really had a lot of competition in every field, and just the VR game. I'm a little surprised because compared to Super Hot VR and Star Trek Bridge Crew and Lone Echo, sort of surprising me. But this might have just come down to you can't play Super Hot VR if you don't have a VR headset, but you can play Resident Evil 7. So maybe people just voted Resident Evil because they've actually played that one.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? It did have a lot of competition with a lot of different stuff this year, but it was the best horror game this year, and it was going up against some pretty heavy hitters. Outlast 2 came out. That was pretty expected to be good, and it was okay.
I'm just glad that they got some sort of nod because they really needed to be rewarded for the changes that they made in that game. So I'm glad that worked out.
Incredible. And I'm not a huge fan of the Resident Evil series. I thought I was, but then Saine reminded me the game I was thinking of was Silent Hill 2, which is also a game series that has been bad for a long time. And
I think that the depths of I don't know. I feel like Resident Evil grew into more of an action game, and Silent Hill stayed a horror game, but they were
bad.
I mean, I wouldn't say that they got worse, but they didn't get better. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're just kind of middling the whole time. So I don't know. Persona 5 won Best Role-Playing Game. Injustice 2 won Best Fighting Game. Mario Odyssey won Best Family Game. And Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle won Best Strategy Game. I thought all of those were pretty good choices.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, PlayerUnknown Battleground won Best Multiplayer.
Yeah.
Most Anticipated, which is this is the award for most pointless category award, goes to Most Anticipated Game Award. Yeah. Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. I completely disagree. I think the Bannerlord should have won that.
I think that the Bannerlord's been anticipated for too many years. It doesn't count.
Same with Star Citizen. That's why it was also.
Oh, don't
kicked
you
out of
mean
the game.
Half-Life 3? Like, come on.
Shit, dude. Half-Life 3 isn't even the most anticipated anymore. It's the most horrible tragedy that'll never happen.
Best indie game went to Cuphead.
Yeah.
Trending Gamer went to Dr. Disrespect.
Hell yeah.
This man was voted because of his mustache. That's why these two voted for him.
That is
Straight
why I voted for him.
That's why I voted for him. I don't really follow big game people, though I should. I think all of us probably should, based on what we're trying to do. But, you know, it is what it is.
And that was the Game Awards. There was some fun stuff that happened in it. Like, one guy went on a hilarious rant. The guy who's developing A Way Out went on a huge rant against.
He basically
all
had to
sorts of
get
stuff.
I swear when I watched that, like I felt he was like 3 seconds away from a giant cane coming and swooping him off the stage. Like they had
Get off the stage, man.
At one point, Keeley was just like, "And here's A Way Out. Here's the trailer. Let's go." So it's kind of like, it was funny.
Anyway, I'm not done. I'm not actually done. I want to give props to my friend Mark.
And then they just cut his mic.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this stuff up now.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we doing this coming week? Thel, you had a video come out today, right? Why don't you talk about that for a second?
It's
Today
out
is
right
Monday.
now. It's it's another one of them 4X game videos. It's a pseudo sequel to the one I had come out last week. And it's on the YouTube channel right now. You can go watch it. It's about Endless Space 2.
You know what's kind of funny?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny is I didn't watch the Stellaris one, but I did watch the Endless Space one. So,
oh, okay. Well,
I don't know. So I should go back and watch that other one, but
okay. I definitely think you should watch the Stellaris one because there's a joke specifically for you in that.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll go do that. Endless Space 2 is that video is actually a really funny video, so.
Oh, good.
I liked it.
All right. But
what are your streaming plans this coming week?
I am just gonna continue with Overlord. I think I'm a ways through it. I'm probably going to do some of the DLC content. I tried to get through it like really early on in the game without realizing it was part of the DLC, and then one of my viewers told me, "Hey, you know you should be doing this like at the end of the game, right?" And I was like, "No wonder it's so hard." But I might like go back to that because now I'm feeling confident about being good at the game and having a decent number of minions to do it with. So, and I hear you can get cool loot for it. So, yeah.
Okay.
After I finish Overlord, I don't know how close I am, but after I finish it, I'll be playing Overlord 2 as well because I remember playing that one and it's better than Overlord 1.
Oh, you're gonna go straight into 2?
Yeah, I'm gonna go straight into Overlord 2. I might mix some like Hearthstone or a PvP game or two in there a little bit, but the main plan is just to continue with Overlord.
Right. Do we have any plans for this next coming group stream, or do we not know yet?
I don't think we really know yet.
Yeah.
Last week we did Ylands, which we did not even talk about.
It was a horrible
it was a horrible mistake.
I just forgot about it, honestly, but
I mean, yeah, same.
I feel like that's your takeaway. Like, we forgot about it.
It was not the best.
So we'll see what we're doing for a group stream, but with that, I
something.
think that we're pretty much done for this week.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
Hang on. I do want to say one more thing about my stream. During this podcast, I hit an average of 3 viewers watching in the last 30 days, meaning that if I get, as of right now, 13 more followers, we will make Twitch affiliate. So that'll be super cool. If you're watching this on YouTube, you've made it to the end, and you're not following my stream, we'll drop a link in the video description. You should totally check it out. Follow, because I'm great at video games. And it's where you can watch the podcast live.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah, so if you want to check us out live, please, we would be very happy if that was the case. All right, okay then. We will head out for this week. We will see you guys. See you next time, and
stay beautiful.
Stay beautiful.